Vice Mayor Detrick checking in.
Hear you loud and clear, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Hume. Were you able to hear that, Jason?
Sorry, I did hear you, Councilmember Hume.
Okay, great.
Coming in loud and clear.
Stephanie Wynn
is now joining.
Are we just waiting on the mayor at this point?
I believe so, Councilmember Hume. I think the mayor's just reconnecting his systems to make sure he's got a clear audio channel coming in.
Hello, everyone. Mayor Steve Lee
is now joining.
I am on.
Excellent. Good to hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, how are you doing? Where are we at?
I believe we have all of our council members back from the closed session. It sounds like everyone successfully exited that meeting, and now we're back into what is going to be the regular meeting format for the Teams teleconference. So I think where we are is we're reconvening back from the closed session of Section 2. And that would just be the moment, Mr. Mayor, if there's any closed session disclosures to be made at this point.
There is, by a vote of 5-0, the City Council authorized and directed the City Attorney's Office to defend the case of Loretta Lowy versus City of Elk Grove and County of Sacramento in the Sacramento Superior Court, case number 34-2020-002778382. That being the case, let's go ahead and adjourn the closed session meeting, and let's go ahead and call the regular City Council meeting to order on Wednesday, April the 8th at 6:30 p.m. And Mr. Clerk, the read the Metro replay schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. Consistent with Executive Order N-35-20 issued on March 21st, 2020 by the Governor of the State of California, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference only. The meeting location will be at the City Council chamber, but it will not be open to the public. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, April 10th at 1 p.m. and Wednesday, April 15th at 6 p.m. It is being closed captioned and will be webcast at sacramentocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting. That includes all of our participants on the teleconference. Sometimes phones can cause interference in the background. Pursuant to resolution number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the council for more than 3 minutes. City clerk will run a speaker timer, and after the first 2 minutes have passed, the city clerk will state on the audio feed 1 minute remaining, indicating 1 minute remains to summarize comments. During the meeting, members of the public may provide general comments or comments on a particular agendized matter or at or at the time before the item is called by emailing the clerk at jlindgren@elkgrovecity.org. These comments will be read aloud if received during the meeting, so the council has the benefit of the comment when considering the matter. Alternatively, if you wish to provide oral comments during the meeting, you may provide your phone number to the clerk via email at jlindgren@elkgrovecity.org with a request to speak during general public comment or any particular agendized matter. At the time the item is called, the clerk will call the number provided and place the call on speaker so comments may be heard by anyone participating in the meeting. We can also receive audio calls that are left at area code 916-478-2286 and put those into the queue for the particular public comment on an item. Note that the 3-minute limit will be strictly observed for all oral comments submitted prior to the meeting and for oral comments made via telephone during the meeting. Each commenter may provide 1 3-minute comment per item. With that, I will turn it over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If you could roll call, please.
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Councilmember Suen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
I am here. And next item is Pledge of Allegiance. If you have a flag around you, please stand and address the flag. And if you could, follow me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. And at the beginning of every regular City Council meeting, council members, the council would like to ask members of the public to join us in a moment of silence. So if you would, please. Thank you very much. All right, next item.
That'll take us on to section 2, approval of the agenda. And I am just going to note that with our teleconference meeting, all items in which we do take a vote will be a roll call vote. So after a motion and a second for approval of the agenda, we'll be proceeding to a roll call vote on that item, as well as all items with action on them on the agenda tonight.
Move approval.
Vice Mayor says approve the agenda.
Got a Got a motion and got a second, right? Right, Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
So for that approval of the agenda, motion Hume, second Detrick. Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hume.
Yes.
Councilmember Suen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Yes.
And Mayor Lee.
Yes. All right, so let's go to the next item.
That'll pass on the approval of the agenda. That'll take us to Section 3, our closed session. There are no closed session items on the regular agenda. As well for Section 4, our presentations and announcements, there are no presentation items on this regular agenda either, which will take us direct to our public comment items. Members of the audience may comment on any item not on the agenda that is of interest to the public and within the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the City Council. I will note, Council, that I do have a few pre-recorded audio comments that were submitted for this item, and those are the only two current speakers that I have, although I am going to do a quick check of my incoming email, which at this time remains blank, but I'll keep monitoring that. And then what I will be doing is queuing up those two items to play onto the systems here. The first speaker is going to be comments from Ms. Lynn Wheat.
Mayor and City Council members, I want to thank you for adopting the urgency ordinance that brings a little relief to our small businesses and residents of Elk Grove. I had some difficulty with the language of the ordinance. However, not being an attorney, I did not have the necessary background to present language changes that would address my concerns. Mr. Shergill presented his case well, supporting the needed language change. Please consider the change of notification by renters to their landlords should they be in the hospital and unable to notify their landlord. Many young physicians, nurses, and those on the front lines of this pandemic live in rental property, and should they become ill with the virus by serving our community, just may not be able to notify their landlord that they cannot pay the rent. I'm requesting you consider amending the language as suggested by Mr. Shergill. It is the right action to take for our community. Thank you.
Those are the comments from Ms. Lynn Wheat. The next set of comments that I have, and I do just want to touch base, make sure everyone's hearing those all right, but it's coming in loud and clear on my feed.
Jason, I'm
Loud and
able to hear it.
I believe I heard folks giving the green light that everything's coming on through. Our next public comment that we have for Section 5 is from Mr. Mark Graham, and I'll pull that up right now.
Good evening, Mayor and
Sounds
Council.
great,
Mark
Jason.
Graham, Elk Grove. Thank you for keeping cell antennas away from our homes through the front yard rule in Section A6B of the Development Standards. As you may know, the AT&T Shell Company has filed an application on December 13 for an individual site permit covering 5 locations. AT&T is targeting high schools. 3 of these first 5 cell antennas are going to be near high schools, and 2 of them are at the exact addresses of Monterey Trail High School, 8661 Power Inn Road, and Laguna Creek High School, 9050 Vecino Drive. Did you know that? The city has the authority to regulate the operation of cell antennas for any reason, including environmental and health effects. Such regulation is not preempted by the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which preserves local zoning authority. Accordingly, the city should issue permits that only allow a maximum of 150 microwatts per square meter of signal strength at all times, except for the first 1 hour after school gets out, during which time the permit will allow a greater signal strength to accommodate the increased demand by students at that time, as demonstrated by the applicant. This is how you regulate the operation of a cell antenna. The permit should require the applicant to pay for and install monitors near each cell antenna to continuously monitor the effective radiated power and a circuit breaker to shut down the antenna anytime it exceeds the operational limits in the permit. There should be a large fine. Only the city should be able to reset the circuit breaker. You have a responsibility to protect people. Please ask your city attorney about the city's power to do this. Ask specific questions. Here's one example of a specific question. Can we do this, Mr. City Attorney? Following Governor Newsom's emergency order and the Federal Communications Commission order, the city has emergency powers to place a moratorium on non-essential activity. The city is not required to do any non-essential activity. During this state of emergency, the city should immediately stop all work on cell antenna permit applications and should not issue any permits. I emailed you about this last week and today, providing the legal authority in the FCC order, which says, we recognize that there may be limited situations in the case of a natural disaster or other comparable emergency where an express or de facto moratoria that violates Section 253A may nonetheless be necessary to protect the public safety and welfare or to ensure the continued quality of telecommunications services, end quote. Please put both of these items on the agenda for the next council meeting as action items. Thank you.
And those comments will conclude what I've received as far as pre-recorded audio, but also I'm not having anything showing up into my email inbox, and that would conclude the public comments that have been submitted for tonight's regular meeting.
All right, thank you. Let's move to the next item.
Take us on to Section 6, General Administration Information.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Jason Behrmans, Elk Grove City Manager. My comments tonight will be relating to our efforts to respond to issues related to COVID-19 in our community and elsewhere. Provided a pretty in-depth update for the council and the community at our last city council meeting. It's my intent to continue those updates on a regular basis each council meeting, but also we're providing a lot of updates to the community through our social media, website, and other avenues. First, I want to start by thanking all those first responders that work for us, but all those outside of the city as well, healthcare workers and other people that are in the front lines of dealing with this pandemic throughout our community, but certainly throughout the world as well. It is important that the city is taking a lot of measures to keep our residents and staff safe as well as informed. City staff are working hard to disseminate relevant and current health information as well as make vital connections to available resources within the community and beyond. For anyone not aware, yesterday, Sacramento County Public Health Officer extended the public health order through May 1st. The updated order provides further clarifications and limitations, many of which the CSD and the city have already implemented. Essentially, direction from the county is that the single most important thing everyone can do to beat this is to continue to stay at home and practice the other measures as part of the stay-at-home order, the directive we're being given from the county, the state, and the federal government. We're seeing great improvement and impacts here from the job that our residents are doing. We just urge people to keep up the good work, and we'll get through this together. So the city continues to push out frequent updates through all available online platforms with latest information from public health officials, as well as our local partners, such as the Kasumna CSD. Right now, the city is finalizing production of a COVID-19 specific newsletter that is being printed and mailed to residents with helpful information to connect residents with resources and information. This will arrive in mailboxes for all homes and businesses in Elk Grove next week. With events postponed or canceled for the time being, city staff has updated the event advertising signs you may have noticed on Laguna Boulevard and Elk Grove Boulevard with COVID-19 prevention messages. Similar changes have been made to the billboard in Old Town as well as our online ads. We've also worked to bolster our COVID-19 webpage, elkgrovecity.org/coronavirus, a central hub of information for our residents that include everything from modified city operations to resources for seniors and small businesses.
Is now joining.
I've also implemented a weekly all-hands staff webinar to provide city staff important updates on city operations, as well as provide staff opportunities to ask questions directly through that forum. We continue to encourage our businesses and employees impacted by COVID-19 to contact our Office of Economic Development directly to ask questions and help walk through the various resources that are available through the SBA and beyond. Our economic development team can be reached at econdev@elkgrovecity.org or 916-627-3338. We're also disseminating information to our small business owners regarding the CARES Stimulus Act and resources that are available to them. Staff participated with the mayor this past Monday at a virtual town hall for business owners sponsored by the Elk Grove Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, council will consider a resolution authorizing the city to participate in the LIFT investment program. This is an emergency relief program sponsored by Region Business. The program allows local jurisdictions to deposit funds at participating regional community banks who will fund emergency loans to businesses in the community. If approved by the city council, the initial investment from the city would be $1 million. The Office of Economic Development and Public Affairs staff are working on a campaign to be launched soon to highlight the efforts that Elk Grove businesses are undertaking to assist with coronavirus relief efforts at the local, statewide, and national level. Visit Elk Grove and the Office of Economic Development are helping to connect local hotel property owners with state and county agencies looking for hotel properties to house first responders, homeless persons, and families for quarantine purposes. On the last city council meeting, the council enacted an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on residential and commercial evictions in the city. It also provides city residents relief from certain utility discontinuances and late fees. The city has created a hardship form and FAQ regarding the moratorium on the city's website. Dovetailing with the city's eviction moratorium ordinance, the governor issued an executive order providing additional protections to residential tenants. Under the executive order, residential tenants are given an additional 60-day extension to respond to an eviction complaint filed in court by a landlord. Without this extension, tenants typically have only 5 days to respond to a complaint. The governor's order also allows tenants up to 7 days after rent is due to notify the landlord of the tenant's qualifying COVID-19 related hardship. And through May 31, a landlord cannot enforce a court order to evict a residential tenant who is suffering a COVID-19 related hardship. These measures help to address some of the issues that were brought up earlier tonight. I know the city council's received a few emails regarding that as well. Additionally, just I think yesterday or the day before, there was something that came out from the California Judicial Council. They adopted emergency rules of court applicable to eviction proceedings that provide further protections for tenants suffering hardships due to COVID-19. Again, cities received some concern about whether the city's current ordinance provide enough protection against evictions for those afflicted or incapacitated due to COVID-19. The city's ordinance, coupled with the governor's order and now the new Judicial Council emergency rules, provide strong eviction protections for anyone impacted by COVID-19, whether financially or medically. This week, another welcome relief. The Elk Grove Water District voted to provide residents some relief related to their water bill. Starting April 1, there will be no shutoffs for non-payment. They will be waiving late payment penalties, door tag fees, and other phone payment fees, as well as allowing flexible payment options for customers. Similar measures have been enacted by SMUD as well as PG&E. City appreciates our utility partners taking these actions to support our residents who may be facing financial hardship. Later tonight on the council agenda, the council will consider a resolution providing emergency funding to the city's nonprofit partners, providing essential services including food, household items, rent, utility assistance, and other needs in response to the COVID-19 crisis. The city is the recipient of approximately $543,000 in a one-time special allocation of community development block grant funds for this purpose. We continue to keep open portable restrooms with hand washing stations at several locations throughout the city to provide resources for our homeless residents here in the city of Elk Grove. Staff continues to monitor them to make sure they're clean and sanitary. We're also closely monitoring and working towards solutions for our homeless residents in partnership with Sac County, City of Sacramento, and the Sacramento Continuum of Care. Together, these entities are investing $15 million in stimulus funds in response to COVID-19 and homelessness, which will be used primarily for sheltering highly vulnerable and symptomatic people. Elk Grove residents experiencing homelessness will have equal access to an estimated 900 hotel rooms. Our police department personnel, including POP officers and our homeless services navigator, remain in contact with homeless residents and are working to connect them to local resources. Elk Grove Heart is also providing meal delivery 5 days per week to individuals to encourage them to shelter in place. On the legislative front, there are several different executive orders and directives and things that have come out at the state and federal level. As it relates to the state, Governor Newsom has issued a variety of executive orders. A couple of these I'll just highlight on really quickly. Executive order that came out on March 30 provides a 90-day extension for state and local taxes, including sales tax. The executive order allows California Department of Tax and Fee Administration to offer a 90-day extension for tax returns and tax payments for all businesses filing a return less than $1 million in taxes. And that means small businesses will have until the end of July to file their first quarter returns. And then on April 2nd, there was an announcement that small businesses collecting sales tax would be given a 12-month reprieve from remitting up to $50,000 to the state. This effectively amounts to a bridge loan that will allow businesses financial support. There's also discussion, word from counties about relief from assessments and additional property taxes and fines related to property taxes for those significantly impacted by COVID-19. But the message, I think, from the county and local jurisdictions is those that are able to pay should pay because they provide important, vital, essential services like police and fire services throughout the community. There's been a lot of talk about a fourth stimulus package coming out from the federal government. Some members of Congress are asking for quick action on a measure that focuses on updating the recently enacted $2.2 trillion CARES Act. Some members want to include infrastructure in the next package. The National League of Cities and others, including the city of Elk Grove, are advocating for direct relief for local governments in the next relief package. To support this approach, the NLC coordinated a bipartisan letter signed by 128 members of Congress requesting that a future COVID-19 response package include stabilization funding, specifically for localities with populations under $500,000. If you recall, the first package was only for states and jurisdictions above the population threshold of 500,000. Just a few items relating to kind of how we're doing business here at City Hall. City Hall remains open for business, even though our counters and our doors are closed, providing essential services to our community. Most of our staff, many of our staff are working from home, telecommuting, and able to provide those services remotely, electronically, or over the phone. Our police force, of course, and public works crews continue to operate, doing so in a safe manner. In coordination with all other Sacramento County law enforcement, the police department has been and continues to communicate the importance of compliance with the public health order. This has become increasingly necessary due to the closure of park amenities. Officers continue to engage the community in education efforts during their normal work. Although non-compliance with the health order is punishable by law, the police department is engaging in education as a first step to understanding and complying with the health order. And by and large, our community is doing a great job of adhering to these orders that have been issued. To support our law enforcement efforts, the city will be receiving a grant fund through what's called the Burn Grant Formula, which is part of this latest stimulus package. The city will be receiving $127,000 for its efforts at the front line. Another thing that may be interest of people that was just announced a couple of days ago from the county is residents that are interested in getting tested for COVID-19 can participate in preliminary online screening at www.projectbaseline.com. Those who meet the testing eligibility will be scheduled for a drive-through appointment for free testing and will be sent details by email or phone on how and where to get tested. The COVID-19 testing location is unable to take walk-ins, and testing is still by appointment only. Those not registered will not be tested. So please, if you're all suffering from symptoms, please go on and get screened online and make yourself an appointment. The Center for Disease Control, CDC, is now recommending face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. So you may see our law enforcement officers, code enforcement, and others out and about with face coverings. And we hope to see our residents shopping in our grocery stores and pharmacies and elsewhere also adhering to these new guidelines. The city is volunteering and encouraging our residents to abide by these recommendations. There are videos and tutorials online that can show residents how to create these for themselves if they have a hard time finding them. The last item is just on the city's recovery efforts. Certainly the stay-at-home order has had drastic economic impacts to many businesses and residents throughout the community. As residents adjust to the current economic situation, their business and purchasing decisions will influence city revenues. At this point, there are minimal data points on the current economic situation, and future forecasts vary considerably on the degree and duration of what most already referring to as a recession. Revenues are expected to be significantly below projections through the remainder of this year, as well as into fiscal year 21. Our most vulnerable revenue streams include sales tax, transient occupancy tax, which is our hotel tax, gas tax, as people are driving less, SB1, which is another transportation-related measure, and then again, Measure A, as well as development impact fees, as we may see impacts on growth going forward. I've also asked all city departments to revisit their fiscal year 21 budget and submit plans to reduce expenditures by 10 and 20%, depending on the severity of the upcoming impacts. Now, that provides an update on how the city is doing and how we're communicating with the residents on all things related to COVID-19. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Okay. Are there any questions? Hearing that there are no questions, let's move to the next item.
That'll take us on to section 7, council comments, reports, and future agenda items.
Okay, first up the bat is Councilmember Nguyen. Are you able to hear me, Councilmember Nguyen?
Councilmember
There you
Nguyen?
go. Can everybody hear me? Yep, I'm here. I'm
There you go.
sorry. Can you hear me now? Oh, we were muted, and so in order to mute, I had to figure out what the number was that I had to re-push again. So I apologize for that. I don't have much to add or to say. I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. Everything, as you know, have been canceled. I do want to note, though, that Tiffany Fink, the CEO of Paratransit, just informed Councilmember Hume and I that Paratransit will be working with our very own Elk Grove Food Bank in delivering food boxes to 5 of the apartments in Elk Grove, totaling 227 apartments. And so they will start doing that the week of the 20th and start delivering every 2 weeks. And this was all put together with Kevin Spees and the Sunrise Rotary Club. And so I just want to give kudos to Tiffany from Paratransit for that. That's all that I have, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Hume?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for reporting that out, Councilmember Nguyen. I did just receive that text as well. I had a, ironically enough, Paratransit board meeting the same day last Friday as the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority meeting. Both of those obviously were conducted remotely. And then we have the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting tomorrow afternoon. I have just one item as far as for city business, and this is for our Public Works Director, Mr. Murdoch. Bob, if you could take a look and get back to me where in our, if it's in our CIP for there's a, I don't know, maybe 50 feet of sidewalk in front of the AM/PM on Oak Grove Boulevard, right there at the southbound entrance to 99. It's a gap where there's no sidewalk there, and there's actually a little barrier at the end of the existing sidewalk. So I'd be curious to know if that's on our radar to be conducted at some point. And then I'd like to put in a shameless plug. I had lunch today, picked up from the Cafe Elk Grove, which is in the District 56 Community Center. She is open. She, I believe, can arrange for curbside delivery, and her food is delicious. So obviously she opened up right just before this all happened, and so to support her would be a good thing. And then in general, just want to tell people stay home, stay well, and we'll get through this. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sun.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Councilmember Hume, that's great to hear. I look forward to trying that place. The SACOG Transportation Committee meeting was canceled last time, and as Councilmember Hume mentioned, the STA board meetings tomorrow. Today we had a library authority budget meeting to continue. We decided to continue closures, but also to continue to pay library staff, non-essential staff. Essential staff are getting paid anyway, but non-essential staff, so that they can weather the storm. I also want to take the liberty to announce. I know Councilmember Hume represents us on the JPA, but the EIR was released on the Valley Rail project. The San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission issued a draft EIR. That's for the Valley Rail Sacramento Extension project that will connect passenger rail service to new markets in Sacramento and San Joaquin counties. It starts to make it a better connection between us and the Bay Area. So that EIR is out for review. Just wanted folks to be aware of that. And there'll be public meetings in North Natomas, Midtown, and here in Elk Grove at Laguna Town Hall on May 11th at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Of course, that could be subject to change based on this pandemic. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor Detrick, you might be on mute.
Nope, I'm off. Yeah, just
Okay,
wanted to, let everybody know I've been sheltered at home for the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Extremely busy working remotely with probably a 50% increase in emails, text messages, and phone calls since everything now is being done electronic. One thing I did want to make a note of is, we've really been actively trying to help the food bank. And there's the opportunity for folks to go on to the Elk Grove Food Bank's website and they can donate online. There's also been some GoFundMe pages on Facebook. And then one of the things we've been pushing really recently is cleaning out your pantry. It's a great opportunity to box things up or bag them up and either drop them off at the food bank, or if you call, they're making arrangements for people to, in various areas around the city, to come by and pick them up off your front porch. And then so you wouldn't have to have actually any personal contact. And then the last thing, I just kind of was thinking to piggyback a little bit what Councilman Hume said, really wishing the best to everybody in the world as we work through this pandemic, since this is nothing we've seen in decades. And then, thank you to all the first responders. And then obviously my condolences for all the ones that have been lost and their loved ones that are left behind to have those memories, but have to at the same time bury their loved ones through this cycle. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. What I wanted to share with the rest of the team and also the public is a lot of my engagement have been through videos. Perhaps maybe some of you have seen it. As we continue to get updates, I will continue to do these videos, and staff has been super helpful. Certainly I want to echo every one of the council members' concern for our community. As the members of the public are aware, we're very concerned, and we will do everything possible within our power to make sure that we will prevail over this, the COVID-19. That being the case, I am hanging out at home, following the order, and doing everything possible from home. The interesting thing that the Vice Mayor has mentioned is you would think that you would be less busy that you're at home, but I'm finding out that the work seems to have doubled now that I'm working from home. So nonetheless, please hang on. Please remain diligent in following the order and also receiving updates from the city webpage. And that is all for my report. Let's move to the next item.
The next item will take us to Section 8, our consent calendar items. And I did just want to take a moment to let the mayor and council know I have checked over on my email and we don't have any prior submitted comments. So at this time, I don't have any public comments on our consent calendar.
Okay, so let's go ahead and open and close public comments. I think that there are no members of public time to speak. And I'll entertain a motion.
Move consent.
Move the consent calendar.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
For that roll call vote, Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Yes.
And Mayor Lee.
Yes. And let's move to the next item.
Indeed, Mayor. I just want to note, Mr. Mayor, your voice is fading just a little bit in terms of the audio callback, but we'll carry on to Section 9 of our public hearings, taking us to item 9.1, a public hearing to consider the extension of an urgency ordinance imposing a moratorium on the issuance of any new permit, license, or entitlement of any new smoking lounge, smoke shop, or tobacco retailer in the city of Elk Grove.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's Shane Diller, the Assistant Development Services Director. Item 9.1 is the proposal of an ordinance which would extend a moratorium on the issuance of new tobacco retail licenses and the issuance of conditional use permits for smoking lounges or smoke shops. This moratorium was brought at the request of council after you expressed concern that the city's current tobacco retail regulations should be strengthened. The original urgency interim ordinance imposing the moratorium was adopted on March 11th, 2020. If not extended, the moratorium will expire on April 25th, 2020, 45 days after its adoption. I'd like to give you a brief update on what regulations staff has been reviewing since the moratorium took effect. So far, staff has identified several sections of the Elk Grove Municipal Code that could be amended to ensure that vaping products such as e-cigarettes, are regulated the same as tobacco and tobacco paraphernalia. Also, staff will likely propose increased penalties for businesses violating tobacco regulations. Looking forward, during the time period covered by the moratorium extension, staff will continue its review of tobacco and vaping regulation strategies. Some of these are requiring retailers to use age verification technology, restricting bulk retail sales of tobacco and vaping products, considering the restriction or prohibition of flavored tobacco or vaping products, and performing a review of licensing fees to ensure full cost recovery. The ordinance presented this evening would extend the prohibitions on issuing the tobacco retail license and approval of any conditional use permits for smoke shops or smoking lounges. Like the interim ordinance that was adopted last month, this extension would allow for currently licensed tobacco retailers to receive license renewals and would exempt active applications that are in for permits or entitlement. Tonight's ordinance requires a 4/5 vote of the council to pass. It would be in effect for 10 months and 15 days, expiring on March 12th, 2021, and could be extended another year beyond then. Though staff recommends council adopt the proposed ordinance extending the moratorium, council could choose as an alternative to extend the moratorium for a shorter period of time, or council could choose to let the moratorium expire. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions?
Nope.
Sounds like there are no questions.
Hey, Mayor, actually, this is Darren. I do have a question. Shane, thank you for that presentation. I was just wondering, how long do you need to continue your analysis of the code? What's on?
It's a little hard to say in the situation we're in with the teleworking and some of those things. I would say it's going to be a little longer than I had originally anticipated having it wrapped up. So if you're looking for a target date for possibly shortening the moratorium ordinance, just my best guess in what I'm looking at here, I would say that if we returned to normal operations a little later this spring, we could probably have something back to the council by July.
Okay, and yeah, not necessarily a date certain, but I guess maybe the flexibility of if you were done earlier than 10 months, maybe staff could bring it forward when it was ready or something like that.
And yeah, I think it's important to note that I don't anticipate this would take 10 months to conclude the research and finalize the draft proposal. I think that we certainly would not wait that full time. When we're done, we would return to council with our recommendations and would propose, adopting those and repealing the moratorium ordinance.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, no other questions. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. At this point, we want to declare public hearing open and open for public comment. Mr. Clerk, if you could read any directed received comments, recordings, or any phone calls.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. I'd let the council know that prior to the meeting, we've received upwards, I believe, 17 written comments with various attachments, which were distributed to the full council and staff prior to the meeting. Along with that, I do have 4 previously recorded comments. Currently at this time, I don't have anything showing up in my inbox, but I'd like to move towards those previously recorded comments that were shared with us, and I'll pull those up in order to share with the council and our viewing audience. The first comment will be coming from Kimberly Bankston Lee.
Hello, Jason. This is Kimberly Bankston Lee with the Soul Project, and I have a public comment for tomorrow's council meeting.
Mayor Stephen Lee and City Council of Elk Grove. My name is Kimberly Bankston Lee, and I am the Senior Program Director with the Soul Project. I am speaking on Agenda Item 9.1, a public hearing to consider the extension of an urgency ordinance imposing a moratorium on the issuance of any new permit, license, or entitlement for any new smoking lounge, smoke shop, or tobacco retailer in the city of Elk Grove. I want to acknowledge the difficult time that we are all going through as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. I hope that your families are safe and healthy. This pandemic is even worse for smokers. In a review of 5 studies published to date, smoking is most likely associated with getting sicker with COVID-19. People who smoke were nearly 2.5 times more likely to get really sick, like admitted to an intensive care unit, needing mechanical ventilation, or dying, compared to those who did not smoke. In Sacramento County, 1 in 4 African Americans, as well as people living at or below poverty, smoke, and most started before the age of 18. 7 out of 10 African American smokers smoke mentholated cigarettes. This is true for both adult and youth smokers. Flavored tobacco, including menthol, is appealing to youth because it numbs the throat, which disguises the harmful effects of smoking. And over half of youth smokers use menthol cigarettes, compared to less than 1/3 of adult smokers. Updating definitions to include combustible and non-combustible products, both plant-based and synthetic, will address any new and emerging tobacco products on the market and will be an additional step in reducing exposure to secondhand smoke or vape aerosol. Rather than focusing on a moratorium, limiting what type of tobacco, where it is sold, and how it is defined are proven effective strategies that local jurisdictions like Sacramento, West Sacramento, Davis, and Yolo County are taking to overcome tobacco industry infiltration and the direct results of tobacco and vape use, which are illness and death. Comprehensive policies that protect youth, the poor, and African Americans and all communities include prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco and vape products, including menthol, prohibiting the sale of any tobacco product within 1,000 feet of youth-populated areas, and updating tobacco definitions. There's community support for this kind of policy. In a public opinion poll conducted by the Soul Project, 67% of African Americans support a ban on the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol. Thank you for the opportunity to learn more about comprehensive tobacco control policies. The Soul Project is available to answer any additional questions you or your staff may have.
And our next comment is going to be from Twyla Laster.
Hi, Jason. This is Twyla Laster. I'm leaving public comment for agenda number 9.1. You know me as the project director for the Soul Project. However, I am making public comment as a concerned resident of Elk Grove and a constituent of Councilmember Dietrich. I applaud Elk Grove City Council on your initial decision to implement an urgent ordinance to temporarily halt any new tobacco retailers from coming into the city. Although this moratorium provided more time for staff to conduct additional research for consideration of the proposed comprehensive tobacco ordinance, I advise against the extension of the current urgency ordinance without more comprehensive language enacted into current policies, which would prevent the tobacco and vape industry from continuing to market and sell harmful products to the most vulnerable communities. With the current pandemic at hand, an adoption of a comprehensive tobacco ordinance in Elk Grove may actually be needed more than ever. Given the known effects of tobacco and vape use on lung health, there is potential for increased harm among those who contract respiratory diseases such as COVID-19. In order to protect the health and residents of Elk Grove, I encourage the City Council to direct staff to draft a more comprehensive tobacco control ordinance that would prohibit the sale of menthol and all other flavored tobacco products, implement density restrictions that prohibit retailers from operating within 1,000 feet of youth-sensitive zones, and also to update the definition of smoking or tobacco to include the burning or heating of tobacco products, other plant products, and especially vaping devices. So thank you again for your proactive approach in protecting the health and well-being of all Elk Grove residents.
The next comment submitted via audio file is from Nikita Henry.
Hello, my name is Nikisha Henry, and this is my public comment for tonight's meeting, April 8th, regarding agenda item number 9.1, a public hearing to consider the extension of an urgency ordinance imposing a moratorium on the issuance of any new permit, license, or entitlement for any new smoking lounge, smoke shop, or tobacco retailer in the city of Elk Grove. First, I would like to thank the City Council and officials for implementing the initial moratorium. Additionally, I am requesting that you move forward with directing staff to draft an ordinance to include the following. Number 1, restricting the sales of menthol and flavored tobacco and vaping products. Number 2, update the definition of smoking or tobacco to include synthetic vapes, etc., and plant-based products. Number 3, tobacco retailer density, 1,000 feet of any child-related facility, example, Elk Grove schools, daycares, etc. It is to my understanding that the council was provided research and ordinance examples so that staff could effectively draft a comprehensive ordinance. I do understand the decision to extend the moratorium another 45 days. However, I do not advise extending the moratorium 10 months. An ordinance should be adopted immediately in order to address the issues listed above, as well as the current COVID-19 pandemic, since tobacco and vape use can pretty much exacerbate symptoms of the virus and in some cases lead to death. Once again, this is my public comment. I do wish to have this read into the record during the meeting tonight on April 8th. I do appreciate your urgent attention to this matter towards protecting the health and well-being of the community. Respectfully, Nikisha Henry.
And currently my fourth pre-recorded comment is from Tim Gibbs, and this is the final one that I have, but I will be checking as this one plays to see if any new ones come in.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Tim Gibbs with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. As per the letter we sent, I wanted to convey our appreciation to the Council for prohibiting more tobacco retailers from establishing themselves in Elk Grove. However, we hope this is not a substitute for a policy to prohibit the sale of all flavored tobacco products in the city. The consensus of the public health community is that the most effective policy for mitigating the teenage vaping epidemic is to join neighbors like West Sacramento, the City of Davis, City of Sacramento, and others in prohibiting the sale of all flavored tobacco products. As we're all grappling with the COVID-19 crisis, it is more important than ever that we promote policies which reduce tobacco addiction. It's well established that smoking reduces lung function as well as suppresses the immune system. We hope the Council's next steps will be to pursue a policy that prohibits the sale of all flavored tobacco products with no exemptions. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, that will conclude those recorded comments that were received on this item. As I mentioned, there were 17 written comments submitted, and of course, any members of the public that are interested in reviewing those or seeing those, feel free to contact myself, the city clerk, at jlindgren@elkgrovecity.org. Otherwise, I have no further comments after review of my email inbox on this item.
All right, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and declare the public hearing closed and close public comment. Council deliberation and direction.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance extending the moratorium on the issuance of any new permit, license, or entitlement for any new smoking lounge, smoke shop, or tobacco retailer in the city of Elk Grove for an additional 10 months and 15 days, subject to further extensions as may later be approved by the city council. But I'd like to amend and add, directing staff to bring forth a ordinance when it's ready, if it's ready before the 10 months.
Okay, got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right, roll call, please.
That's my fault. I was on mute for the roll call vote. Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Yes.
And Mayor Lee.
Yes. All right, so let's move to the next item.
Take us on to section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is a presentation of the Elk Grove Police Department's 2019 annual report.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Before I begin, I just want to make sure that my screen share is coming through.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, good evening. Tim Albright, Elk Grove's Chief of Police. I'm here tonight, although virtually, to present the Police Department's 2019 annual report. I wanted to note that there was a last-minute edit to page 16 that we'll come to, and that's the crime statistics page. So what you might have in your council binders and what might have been posted online, there is a slight adjustment there. But as you do view my presentation this evening, my screen share is reflective of the current version. The annual report that you'll see tonight will be populated on the police department's website. In addition, it will be broadcast through our various social media platforms, and that'll be done at the conclusion of my presentation. So I'm going to provide an overview of the report. I'm going to pause at certain segments just to provide some context and dive a little deeper into content, but I won't take too much of your time by virtue of the fact that this will be made public and folks can peruse it at their leisure. But I did want to invite you to stop me at any point for questions. I do, before I begin, want to give special thanks to our Public Information Officer, Hannah Gray, who put a tremendous amount of work into the annual report itself. And I'll move through our report here. Page 3 is our mission, vision, and values, which we brought forward a little over 2 years ago. Those are still part of our guidepost for our organization. Page 4 is a brief overview of our city from a demographics perspective. Certainly our council members that are incredibly supportive and our supportive city manager that we appreciate so very much. This next page is a little deceiving in that it is our 2019 organizational chart at the end of 2019, and what you will see is missing is the very welcomed addition of Assistant Chief Bobby Davis, who will be a part of this page come the annual report for 2020. So this is the structure at the end of 2019. Our patrol beats broken down a little bit into color this time. We did break them out as to the fire station, school districts, or schools and parks within each of those districts. I want to highlight on this particular page the patrol response. As you can see, we responded to nearly 58,000 calls for service. What I'd like to highlight is our response time being 4.9 to priority 1 calls. Those are those calls that are in progress, felony calls, in progress crimes against persons, or an incident where there is a high risk for harm against a person. The target for us has been less than 5 minutes, and as you can see, we are within that target. I'd like to point out also that our priority 1 calls decreased almost 11% from last year, well, let's call it 2018 to 2019. Our traffic bureau is highlighted here, and they play just a vital role in the education and enforcement component that would drive down injury and fatal collisions within our city. Our DUI arrests last year decreased 7.5%. So we're happy for that and would like to continue on that trajectory. I want to highlight some of our specialty units. Certainly, you're aware of our school resource officers who have recently been placed within the Elk Grove school districts. They have created quite the relationship with not only the school district, but equally important with the students within. You can see the numbers associated with their contacts. There are 500 calls for service that they've handled as a part of that interaction. So our SWAT team, our hostage negotiation team, I want to pause for a moment here for our mobile crisis support team. And this team that's made up of Officer Skelton, who you see there, and his partner, clinician Leanne, who just they've provided an incredible service to our community members from a mental health capacity, helping those in crisis, helping to get them the resources that they might need, and developing relationships with care providers in our community, as well as those individuals suffering from mental health crisis, that we could have better outcomes. And in fact, as you'll see later in the report, and they're holding their awards there, Officer Skelton was awarded our Officer of the Year for many of his efforts, and clinician Leanne, who's partnered with Officer Skelton on a daily basis, received a Chief's Letter of Commendation for her efforts. Here's our dogs. Everybody loves the dogs. It should be noted that our 6 canine handlers handled in excess of 6,000 calls for service in 2019, a pretty impressive number. So our investigations page, I want to highlight a couple of things here. The fact that our investigators handled nearly 800 cases, that's a huge number. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out that I'm proud of as it relates to our relationships with some of our peers to bring aid to victims. And you see the 310 clients assisted through our CPS advocacy, and then the 314 victims that we and Weave were able to connect to provide those short-term and long-term services to mitigate the victims of domestic abuse, sexual assault. So it's a great partnership that we enjoy with Weave, and I'm really proud of that relationship. And at the bottom, our forensics team does just a great job. The one thing I want to point out, which seems like a low number, but it is, it's really reflective of their expertise. And not all law enforcement have this expertise in-house, but we have fingerprint ID experts within our ranks, and they solved 32 cases through fingerprint identification. So that's a case that might otherwise have never been solved, but by virtue of their training and expertise and willingness, they were able to make those latent identifications and solve 32 cases. You all know about our community resources and POP. This is the really dynamic team that provides so much outreach to our community, puts on our citizens academies, hosts crime prevention meetings. Our National Night Out organizes that, and of course plays a huge role in our outreach to our homeless community members, and they're just doing a great job with that. I'm really proud of the work that they do. Our dispatch unit, here's an interesting number. As of last year, they had about 152,000 calls into their center. And as you can see from this year, that number is north of 180,000. And that's about a 10% increase. I'm sorry, an 18% increase. My math isn't fantastic tonight. But a huge uptick in the number of calls. And our dispatchers are so professional. They provide directions sometimes and answer questions that otherwise might not get answered in an efficient manner, but they take the time to provide that high level of service to those folks who call our communication center. Our animal shelter has been open since October of this year, and although only open a short time in 2019, they received 908 animals into the shelter during that time, and a really crazy number here, and that's 50% return to owner rate. So as we might find lost animals that are brought into the shelter either by a citizen or through our animal control, 57% of those are returned to their owner. And just doing a really good job. You can see the numbers as it relates to the animal licensing, which helps with that return to owner rate. the vaccines and the microchips that we engage in on a regular basis. The staff there does just an excellent job of serving the 2- and 4-legged members of our community, and they are absolutely passionate about that. I want to pause and spend a little bit of time on this particular slide. I first want to draw your attention to the hate crime in the lower left corner. And as you see, in 2017, we had this number of 6 hate crime reports. 1 hate crime is too many in our community. 6 is far too many. And what I'm happy to see is this downward trend. 4 in 2018, and last year we had 1 reported hate crime. And again, I want to emphasize that 1 is too many, but I think our efforts, and I mean our efforts as in our community efforts, our city efforts, the police department's efforts, all working together to combat this is proven to drive that number way down, and I'm really proud of that. As we look over in the notable changes in crime, I'm going to start with the not so good news at the bottom, if you will, and that's motor vehicle theft. We do see a significant increase of almost 13% in 2019. We did see a pretty decent decrease in 2018. It's about 15%. So over the 2-year period, we are really at about a 3% decrease in motor vehicle theft over the previous year. But nonetheless, in 2019, an increase of vehicle theft at nearly 13%. Larceny. Larceny is, again, another issue of concern that we are addressing in really meaningful ways, but a 15.5% increase over last year. What I will say about larceny, some may wonder what larceny is. That's really the kind of the thefts that aren't related to breaking into a motor vehicle, a house. It's theft of bicycles, motor vehicle parts, shoplifting, stealing of property, maybe mail from a cluster box. And when we see that increase, we look back as to the drivers of that. And for us, it was what I spoke to. It's cluster mailbox thefts. And if you have 16 mailboxes, that's 16 separate victims and 16 separate reports, which drives that number north. We also had a rash of catalytic converter thefts over the past year, and some other motor vehicle parts thefts. Not that this is good news, but that uptick, unfortunately, was felt regionally, and the numbers that are reflected here are congruent with what I am seeing with our neighboring peers within Sacramento County and our neighbors to the northwest and south of us. We're seeing this uptick as it relates to larceny. To a better story, our burglaries, which is the breaking and entering usually into a residence or a motor vehicle that's locked to take property, we did see a decrease of nearly 10%. In 2018, we had a 13% decrease. So overall, over the past 2 years, about a 22% decrease in burglaries, which is that's a big number. And I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of the investigative efforts to drive that number down. And lastly, I want to talk about aggravated assaults. If you recall, as we went back to 2017, we had some reporting challenges that were fixed once those were brought to our attention. So the numbers in 2018 were true numbers that weren't reflective of any errors in our reporting. And of course, the same holds true for 2019. So in 2019, we saw a significant decrease, nearly 21% decrease in aggravated assaults. And we've had this conversation before as to what really is the driver of aggravated assaults in the city of Elk Grove. And that driver is domestic violence. And that makes up the lion's share of our crimes in that particular area. But again, we're working hand in glove with Weave and our community-based, faith-based partners. We have some pretty progressive investigative techniques and outreach, and I think that's reflective in that decrease in the number of aggravated assaults for 2019. Before I move on from this page, I want to make sure this usually draws some questions, and I want to be able to provide an opportunity if there are any questions or anything that I need to clarify here before moving on.
Any questions? Chief, I do have a quick question. This is in comparison to 2018 numbers, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the notable changes are compared to 2018 numbers. Okay, moving on, I want to talk briefly about our professional standards unit. This is our 2019 use of force. We made 2,265 arrests. Of those arrests, force was used 54 times, or what equates to a little over 2%. So in all of our arrests, we use force a little over 2% of the time, which is really low. And as you can see on the bar graph, the force is defined. That could be as simple as a control hold for handcuffing, or a takedown to gain control over a resistive subject. But we are, as it relates to 2019 over 2018, our arrests actually increased 10%, but our use of force went down nearly 12%. So I think that's reflective of our training, our orientation, our approach to dealing with subjects and gaining compliance through measures, and saving a need to engage in use of force as an absolute last resort. And I'm proud of our folks for doing really well with this. They maintain a safe approach. And they use only that force necessary to effect those arrests, and I'm proud of the outcomes there.
Hey, Chief, before you move on,
sure.
I have a quick question. What is RAP?
A RAP is a maximum restraint device. If we have somebody who is intent on hurting themselves, banging their head against the car and transport to the jail, or perhaps injuring somebody else, it provides a safe way to immobilize their upper and lower extremities so that they can be transported safely and do no harm to themselves or others. It's a very it's a non-invasive way.
Kind of like a restraining jacket?
Yeah, it's a little hard to explain, but it's a little bit like a backboard, if you will, where somebody is seatbelted onto a backboard so that they can't thrash around and cause injury to themselves.
Oh, I see. Okay.
For training, officers attended 30 hours of training each per year. So in 2019, 30 hours of training. We have a pretty robust cadre of subject matter experts within the organization who have expertise in use of force or procedural justice, bias-based policing. We do a fair amount of training internal to the organization as well as external, and a lot of our training is perishable skill training, so we focus on becoming skilled in that way and keeping up on those perishable skills. Below that are our complaints from 2019. We had 28 formal complaints in the calendar year 2019. 11 of those were generated through citizen complaints. 17 were internally generated, and those run the gamut from perhaps a collision to a use of force to a host of different issues that need some level of investigation. And you can see the disposition below. Not some of these cases come in late in the calendar year, so you see that there are still 13 in process. An internal affairs case, some take much longer to work through. So that's why we have a lag of those cases that are carried over from calendar year 2019 to current. Some of our demographics and hiring, we were, because of a very supportive council and city manager, we had the opportunity to hire 19 officers throughout this calendar year, 11 of which were lateral officers. So we try to find a good balance between bringing new officers on and hiring lateral officers. There are also several promotions that took place in this current calendar year, and the actual demographics of our Elk Grove PD staff are reflected in the pie graph. And in the bar graph above that are the professional staff, which are the non-sworn staff. and the sworn staff broken down into gender.
Chief, the last slide.
Yeah.
Is there any a comparison to the current population of Elk Grove?
Yeah, I have. That was on the very first page. I can go back to that, Mayor, if you'd like, real quick.
I was wondering if there's like a side-by-side.
I haven't done a side-by-side. I have not done a side-by-side. I'd be happy to do that if the council desires.
Yeah, that's just a thought. I mean, that might be, the comment that I've been getting from the community is that what has happened in this past year has been super impressive. And, the number of officers been hired is super diverse. And so that certainly helps the numbers. I just wanted to see if there's any comparison to like what was it before to the population, what it is now.
Sure. I'm just looking at the slide just to give you a comparison as to what that looks like currently. For our Asian population, the demographics is at 28%, and I think on our slide here it is 21. That is the number 21 or 9%. Hispanic Latino as a part of our demographics is 18% within the organization. That is at 19%. So that's pretty much reflective. Our African American or Black demographic for the city is at 11%, and reflected here is at 10%, which is pretty congruent. White or non-Hispanic is at 35% for the city, and as far as the police department, we are at 61%. But moving forward, I think that's probably something good to capture a year-by-year glimpse of what that looks like, and I will certainly look at that for next year.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
As you can see, these are our 2019 hires on the left, the 19 that I alluded to previously, and then the 2019 promotions. Our 2019 retirements, led by my very good friend, Brian Noblet, who has sailed off into retirement and is doing very well. I talked to him yesterday, and some of our other retirees who serve this organization and this community with distinction. I'll skip that. That's simply my swearing in. I wanted to get back to what I mentioned previously, which was the Officer of the Year, Jason Skelton, for his work on the Mobile Crisis Support Team and really leading that to a model for organizations, law enforcement organizations across the country. We've had major organizations back east who have contacted us to come out and view our model so that they could adopt a similar model, seeing our success. Our Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Sabrina Ramirez, our dispatch supervisor, who just leads with passion and has done a great job in training staff and orienting them to the world of dispatch. And then our Volunteer of the Year, Fred Velo. And I know there were a couple of council members who were there for Fred's Volunteer of the Year award, an incredibly humble man with a life of service, and we were honored to honor him. We had our employee awards and recognition ceremony recently. Some of those awards are provided here in further detail. And then our VIPs, you all know the value of our volunteer program. They're amazing. They are not serving in a volunteer capacity now by virtue of our current pandemic. I'm in constant contact with them, as are all members of my staff, and they are anxious to get back. We miss them tremendously. I'm gonna save a lot of what I want to say about the volunteers for our next council meeting. That's the end of April's National Volunteer Week, and I have a presentation related to their contribution to the city, and we value them so much. Our community ambassadors and our Explorer programs, again, doing really good things in the community. And we are, through our Explorer program, creating the next generation of our law enforcement professionals. Two things from a technology perspective that we have been so proud to roll out. And, we were, moving full steam ahead, and then the COVID-19 challenges presented themselves, but the Real-Time Information Center has really served an incredible purpose for us in managing the crisis and managing the information. And I just appreciate those two programs and the support of the council for those two programs, and look forward in 2020 to being able to relate more of what we were able to accomplish through those two programs that are going to bring a higher level of safety for our community members and certainly for our staff that are providing for a safe community. Two items that we recently brought forward that are really moving to drive down what I spoke to previously, and that's the larceny and the motor vehicle theft, those areas where there was an uptick in crime. One is we've kind of rebranded our camera registry program and called it CCTV, Capturing Crime Through Video. And this is simply the opportunity for community members and businesses to register their personal cameras with us. Not that it would give us access, but it would give us contact information that when and if we have a crime in your particular area, we could reach out to you via email, phone call, or personal visit to query whether or not you were your system was able to capture a part of a crime. And so we're seeing a significant increase in the number of community members and businesses that are registering their cameras. That information is on our website for anybody that is interested. I think it's on the front page. And then our intelligence-led policing, we have really stepped this up in the past several months, really looking to respond intelligently to crime, have data lead our efforts to really be more focused on the contributing factors to an uptick in crime and address those holistically. So we're having some really good successes in that particular program, and I look forward to 2019 yielding more success. Our community members, we are so proud of the relationship that we have. We certainly do not take that relationship for granted, and this is just a few snapshots of some of that work, the partnership that we enjoy with our community members, and we look forward to continuing to grow that in 2020. Coming in for a landing here, I want to touch briefly on our Public Information Office. Officer Jason Jimenez and Officer Hannah Gray have done just an amazing job in really solidifying our social media footprint, where we had limited exposure in the social media world. You can see the followers through Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, Instagram. We have a large following and the ability to broadcast information and share a little bit about our story, to tell the story behind the uniform or behind the badge, and connect in genuine ways to our community members. And you see from below the number of posts. Our public information officers are constantly engaged in not only posting, but monitoring and providing feedback in that all-important social media platform arena. The Chiefs Advisory Board, I inherited this. I had the opportunity with former Chief Noblet to put this together, and I inherited just a great group and had the opportunity to be with them several times ahead of our holiday party, which is reflected here. And they are, they are embarking on some really good work in this year and are looking forward to their report back to council. I challenged them to really focus on some initiatives that might help move the needle in the community, and they are working tirelessly to that end and are excited to report that back. And really a diverse group that is diverse in thought and is incredibly supportive and is gaining knowledge on a daily basis. So I'm really proud of the relationship that was in place and the relationship that's grown since my appointment to the chief position. And our last page, just a remembrance of the 2019 line of duty deaths. The very first picture on this particular PowerPoint was that of a young man who was in downtown Old Town Elk Grove and was standing at the side of the road as Natalie Corona's procession drove by. And, as a community member for many, many years, I think that might have been, my proudest moment as a community member and as a member of this organization, to see the widespread community support for not only our first responders, but for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and that being Tara. That concludes my report. I want to thank the council briefly and city manager for their supports of our efforts to serve the community that you've seen in this report. And I want you to know how incredibly hard our staff is working in these challenging times that are before us currently. And your support allows them to meet the needs of our community. And I'm so proud of the work reflected in this annual report, but I have to tell you, I'm probably more proud of the work that they do daily, and really the work that I've seen them engage in over the last couple of weeks in this very unique and interesting times. They're absolutely prepared, they're committed, and they're here to serve their community. And with that, I will submit, and I'm available for any questions should they.
Hey, Chief, this is Mayor Steve Lee. Would you be able to get members copies of this? Because I would love to share this report.
Absolutely. I'll provide you a hard copy and an electronic copy. It'll also be on our website, and we'll push through social media this evening.
Okay. It'd be great. Awesome. Thank you.
Chief,
any other questions?
Not a question, Mayor, but this is Councilmember Hume. Chief, I just want you to know, and for the folks in your department to know, that even in the best of times, this council is very supportive of your department. But during these trying times, just please relay our well wishes and hope that they're out there staying safe, and just thank them and all the first responders for what they're doing to keep our community safe right now.
Agreed wholeheartedly, Councilmember Hume. This is Councilmember Soon. And Chief, I'll go to Mayor's comments. This is a great report. We know you've been doing a great job, you and your staff. You've been doing a great job since you stepped in to this position. The last page, or second to last page of this report, reminds us of what you guys put on the line every day. So we do appreciate all your work in not just in your job in the enforcement capacity, but all the community building efforts that you've documented here. It is really great to see. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Chief, this is Vice Mayor Detrick. And one thing I think that I take away from this is the transparency that you give to the entire department. There's been an increase in crime over the years, but as we've seen, there's been a steady decline every year since we've had law enforcement, since 2006, since our own police department. And I really believe that gets back to the social media between Facebook, Twitter, all the other social media outlets, that it's more exposed. So I think knowing that these type of reports are tremendous to let people know Elk Grove really is a very safe place to live, work, and play. And, as you mentioned, there was a couple upticks in auto thefts and larceny, which, if that happens to be your personal item, that's a huge issue. But to see that the violent crimes have gone down, that is even more important to me personally. So kudos to you, the entire Elk Grove Police Department. And as Councilman Hume said, please give our appreciation to the entire team that you have, and thank them for everything they do day in, day out, and to stay safe out there during these tough times.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Thank you, Chief. I look forward to these every time, and I love the things that you've done in the time that you've become our chief here. I really appreciate you and your team.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I will absolutely pass on all of your kind words. As you know, those within the organization are the ones who get the work done. I'm just the messenger, but I'm so thankful to have the support of this council, and your words mean a tremendous amount to me, and I know to the staff as well. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. All right, at this time, I want to open for public comment. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak or submitted any recordings or emails?
For item 10.1, I do not have any submittals that have come prior to the meeting, and I am scanning my incoming box, and I do not have anything coming in. So I have no other further comments from the public on this item 10.1.
Okay. So that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and consider this report received and final. If there's nothing else from the council. All right, hearing nothing, let's move to the next item.
That will be item 10.2, which is to consider a resolution approving the Sacramento Transportation Authority Transportation Expenditure Plan for the proposed 2020 transportation sales tax ballot measure.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. This is Bob Murdoch, Public Works Director. The item before you is consideration of a transportation expenditure plan for proposed November 2020 transportation sales tax measure. This effort is being led by the Sacramento Transportation Authority, and tonight we have its Executive Director, Will Kempton, will be here to make a presentation. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Kempton to go through his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch, and Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Will Kempton with the Sacramento Transportation Authority. Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Busey and I were talking earlier when you were going over, I think it's item 7 on your agenda, about all of the different responsibilities that council members have in serving on other boards and commissions. And I would just like to recognize the 2 representatives from the City of Elk Grove on the Sacramento Transportation Authority Board, and that is Darren Soon and Pat Hume, who have done a great job and have been instrumental in helping us develop an expenditure plan, which I think is really an effective document. As your staff report indicates, you're being asked tonight to approve the Transportation Expenditure Plan, which was tentatively adopted by the STA Board on March 18th. You're not being asked to approve a tax initiative, and the consideration of approval of the implementing ordinance and placement of a sales tax measure on the ballot will come later through action of the authority and the Board of Supervisors. If I could go to the first slide, Kevin. Wanted to just maybe give you a little bit of background in terms of how we put this plan together. This is outreach has been going on for more than a year and a half. We conducted a significant amount of outreach, meeting with over 150 organizations and individuals. We did opinion surveys. Our largest was in October of this past year with 1,500 respondents. We held regular meetings with the Professional Advisory Group, which is the Public Works Directors and other senior staff from the counties, cities, and local and regional agencies. Your staff was directly involved in those, and I'm pleased to say very positive contributors. We held detailed meetings with an ad hoc committee of the STA board, and we conducted 5 public board meetings during the period January through March so that we could take public input on this document. Next slide. The process that we are required to undertake is as part of the Public Utilities Code and state law, which requires support of a majority of the city councils representing a majority of the county's incorporated population and the Board of Supervisors. So all of these agencies and governing boards need to approve the expenditure plan, and the STA's Board of Directors has voted to present this plan for your approval. And we're making the rounds now. We've been to, this is the 4th agency that I have appeared before. After consideration of the local jurisdictions, the STA Board of Directors must adopt an implementing ordinance by a 2/3 vote. That is scheduled for May 14th. We propose to introduce the ordinance at tomorrow's meeting and consider the implementation ordinance in a month. The Sacramento County Board of Supervisors would then presumably, by a majority vote, place the Measure A on the ballot. The deadline for that action would be August 7th, and the measure must be approved by at least 2/3% of the electorate to be enacted into law. Next slide. This is an overview of the actual expenditure plan. It's a total of $8.4 billion over 40 years. There are 10 categories of funding associated with the plan. You can see the percentages and whether or not the funds come off the top in the middle column, and the dollar amount for each of those categories on the right-hand side. Total roads will receive about $4.8 billion over the life of the measure, and rail and transit will receive about $3.2 billion. We can go to the next slide. Now, we had heard from a lot of jurisdictions early on about the benefits to each of the cities, primarily focused on those first two categories you see on the chart here for the city of Elk Grove, and that is local street and road repair and transformational system improvements and local projects of regional significance. Those dollar amounts are allocated by formula directly to the cities, but there are more benefits that come to all of the jurisdictions in Sacramento County relative to the types of projects that are being accomplished through this measure. We asked our consultants to put together a program that would identify or estimate those benefits, and this is their version of how those dollars might split out to the benefit of the city of Elk Grove. I would point out that for SAC-RT maintenance and operations, that does, as your staff report indicates, assume annexation, but the rest of the dollars are determined by either looking at an equal distribution of those dollars across the county or by some other measurement. The total here is just over $1 billion of anticipated benefits through the work of our consultants. Next slide. The local projects and programs that are available in that first category of funding, entitled Local Streets and Roads and Transformative Projects, is projects that are eligible for funding from that source. And that doesn't mean that these projects will, that all the money from that source will go to these projects directly or any small group of them. It just means that all of these projects are eligible for funding from that particular source. So the city will be able to use that source potentially to match other dollars, state, federal, or regional dollars to get work done on all of these projects as important to the city of Elk Grove. There's a second page here too to complete the package of projects that your staff identified that should be eligible for funding from this source. And then there is another category of project called Local Projects of Regional Significance, which unfortunately didn't make it into the PowerPoint, no fault of your staff. We did provide a separate handout of that, but those projects include the White Lock Parkway, State Route 99 interchange, the Elk Grove Boulevard congestion relief effort, and Laguna Boulevard Bond Road congestion relief as projects that have a regional significance for the city of Elk Grove, a separate formula program that the city can spend those dollars on and also use them for matching purposes. Now, we are very mindful of the disruption and uncertainty caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the toll on individuals, families, and the economy, as well as our quality of life, has really been unprecedented. You know, we heard earlier today the incredible steps the city is taking to try to deal with that problem. But our goal, our overall effort began with a goal of planning for the future of Sacramento County, and we believe we should continue to take the steps to move closer to that goal, not in spite of, but because of the current situation. While at some point it may be necessary to set aside this effort, we know that large-scale infrastructure programs can have a very positive impact on the economy. And over the next few months, we will be working with transportation stakeholders in Sacramento County to propose a package of improvements that can be implemented immediately if voters approve this measure. So in addition to the other longer-term benefits of the program that we've discussed tonight, your approval of the expenditure plan this evening could help retain an option for helping to get the county's economy moving again once we have defeated this virus. So the last slide I have for you is a request for your support for the resolution to approve the Transportation Expenditure Plan for the proposed 2020 Transportation Sales Tax ballot measure. And with that, Mr. Mayor and members, I'm ready to answer your questions.
Are there any questions?
No questions.
No questions?
No questions, but
No
just
hands
want to
members?
thank, Will, I just want to thank you for your hard work on this. I know at one point you worked through pneumonia on this effort to bring this forward to everybody in the county. So we just want to commend you for all your hard work.
All right, hearing no additional requests to speak, let's move on to public comment. I want to open public comment. Mr. Clerk, do you have anyone signed up to speak or submitted any public comment?
We do have some public comments for item 10.2, including one is a phone call.
Okay, we're just about ready. Here we go. Go ahead, sir.
This effort to bring this forward to everybody in the county. We just want to commend you for all your hard work.
You're going to want to turn down the speaker in the background of the meeting playing.
Got it.
Let me go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Much better.
Is it my turn now?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. Are you able to hear me?
You're coming through.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joseph Borja, and tonight I'm representing Sacramento Regional Transit. As we do our part flattening the curve, helping essential workers, and supporting everyone impacted, it's more critical that we look at short-term and long-term investments to help our city and region bounce back even stronger. As a resident of Elk Grove, I see that Measure A is a progressive vision, a product of stakeholders from all walks of life, like Will from SCA mentioned. This promotes a healthier future, inclusive economic development, and improves equitable access. What you're considering today, or this evening, is hard work put together by folks from all walks of life. Measure A allocates about $100 million to Elk Grove Blue Line light rail extension. SACRT will work with state and federal authorities to double or triple that match to likely invest more than $350 million in construction and more than $80 million in operations and maintenance, totaling close to $430 million in potential investments to Elk Grove. This light rail would move thousands of riders daily, significantly improving transportation access in the suburbs, inviting future housing and retail development, and ease local congestion and emissions. SACRT intends to continue a positive relationship with E-Trans and make district-wide improvements in frequency and services, including express trips for daily commuters. We'll work hard to get you and your families and those stuck in traffic at the 99, I-5, and side streets so that they can come home safely each and every night. Measure A, like Will mentioned, is an economic stimulus, and key transit projects will bring thousands of added jobs from all trades to Elk Grove in the near future and throughout the life of the measure. With this, we anticipate to provide free transit for students and discounts for seniors and the disabled. We'll hope to improve ADA and non-ADA paratransit trips and increase the availability of popular on-demand transit and introduce electric buses in Elk Grove. With your support, together we can build for our families today, the youth, and for future generations. I strongly encourage you to support Measure A tonight, and let's get Elk Grove and our communities moving forward together. And with that, thank you for the opportunity to speak and address the council.
All right, thank you, sir. Next speaker.
And with that, that'll conclude our audio and phone calls on this item. I do have one item that was received via email, which I will read into the record. This item, it was an email received by Ali Mua. Council members and Mayor Lee, I encourage the council to not approve the proposed 2020 transportation sales tax ballot measure as tentatively adopted by the Sacramento Transportation Authority, the STA, at this time. Our country, state, county, city, and residents are currently affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Hundreds and thousands of residents across Sacramento County, including Elk Grove residents, are unable to work and experiencing financial hardship. Entertaining any ideas to raise revenue from residents whose income has been affected during a time of economic instability would be irresponsible and a recipe for fiscal disaster. Thank you, Ali Mua. And that was the only other comment received on this item, Mayor and Council.
Okay, excellent. I want to go ahead and close the public comment and council deliberation and direction. Members?
Mayor, as chair of STA, I'll lead this off.
Okay.
Again, I just want to thank Mr. Kempton for being here tonight and presenting this information. As I just want to repeat some of his words. This is not a tax measure tonight, but it's an expenditure plan, and it preserves an option for a local instrument that'll be benefit only local, meaning our entire county and especially our city, to relieve traffic in the city, our commute, create jobs, and provide an economic stimulus at a time that when we will need it the most. It's well known that Congress wants to at some point talk about a stimulus package as well. This could position us to leverage those dollars to not only provide congestion relief and improvements for our community, but again, economic stimulus to get the economy going again. It's a time where we can't be reactive. We need to plan and we need to consider the future. I think it's short-sighted to think that this will last forever, this pandemic. The times will come where we'll need to worry about our commutes again, and time for this to consider this is now. It just preserves an option. So with that, I also just want to emphasize, I validate these comments with having spoken with a renowned regional and local economist that I hope will weigh in the future here. But with that, I'll stop there, and I just want to express my support for moving forward with this expenditure plan. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt the resolution approving the transportation expenditure plan.
All right, got a motion.
So I will. I'll second the motion as the other council member serving on the Transportation Authority. And I just want to address those public comments in a similar manner to what I said when we heard this item at the first virtual meeting of the STA. We were actually scheduled to hear the item the day that the order came out to suspend all public meetings. And that is that we are not voting at this point to approve a tax. We are voting to keep the process moving forward. And so to what Councilmember Suen just mentioned, unfortunately, we cannot look at what has been probably a year-long process and what is proposed to be a 40-year expenditure plan in the lens of COVID-19 that's happening right now. I just don't think we have that luxury. And so this item will come back to the STA in May. We'll have a better idea of the depth of this novel coronavirus and its effects on our economy and on our overall communities. And then the STA board will vote at that point whether or not to move forward. And if it moves forward, then it goes to the ballot in November. And certainly whatever the temperature of the electorate is at that point is going to determine the ultimate success of whether or not these dollars can be spent in the manner that's being proposed. And so to kind of circle back what was just mentioned, this is simply the expenditure plan if the funds are raised. And so I want to thank Councilmember Suen as the chair of the STA, the sort of hands-on effort he put into herding a lot of cats and a lot of competing interests to even get this plan to this point, and also to the executive director, Will Kempton, for his role in kind of keeping this thing moving forward. It's not a perfect plan by any measure. It allocates a lot of money to a lot of different places, but it's going to do a lot of good if it gets passed by the voters. And so with that, I'll go ahead and end my comments.
I want to thank both council members from Elk Grove and leading this charge. I have to tell you, just hearing from my colleagues across the region, all our council colleagues across the region, and talking about this process and how you both did a phenomenal job, and our chair of STA, Councilmember Soon and as our Councilmember Hume said, herding everybody together and pulling everybody together and getting this to come to a conclusion, consensus, and pulling this through is phenomenal. So kudos to both of you for pulling this together and representing Elk Grove, but also representing our community and being able to make light of everything so that our community understands what's coming up here. So I support this as well too. And I do want to thank Mr. Wilkinson for being here and giving such a great presentation as well.
Yeah,
Vice Mayor. Anyone else? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor Detrick, yeah, thank you for the report. I mean, the depth that went into that, and as was mentioned, how much time's been spent on this. I think the average person doesn't understand when they see these come forward that sometimes these are, years in the making. I think it's no secret that people know that I'm not a real big supporter of any new or future tax plans, but I think this is an opportunity to look at something special and unique. And it takes I believe looking at the way this is mapped out, this would have to take a 2/3 majority of the electorate in order to pass this, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Say it again. That is correct.
Yes.
So I think with that high level of requirement, I think it's, well thought out, well planned, and it's gonna be a tough one to get through, but if it gets through, that's be very good for all the cities and counties, the whole region here, to be able to do these type of improvements. So I'll support this as well.
Okay, excellent. There is a motion and a second. Let's call the question. Roll call vote.
Mayor, just before we do that, I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge Councilmember Hume's efforts on this as well. I think it was a team effort, and I really appreciate the work he put in on this as well, especially at a key moment in time towards at a critical point in time of the negotiations. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you to you both. All right, Mr. Clerk.
And for that roll call vote for the motion by Suen, second by Hume, for approval of the resolution, Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Yes.
And Mayor Lee.
Yes.
With that, the item passes 5-0. I would like to thank you, staff. You read my mind. That'll take us on to item 10.3, which is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to make allocations of emergency funding to the city's nonprofit partners, providing essential services, including food, household items, rental, utility assistance, and other needs in response to the COVID-19 crisis.
Hey. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. It's Sarah Bontrager, your Housing and Public Services Manager. I have attempted to share my screen, and so hopefully you can see it. If not, let me know.
Everything looks good, Sarah.
All right, great.
Yep.
So tonight I want to share with you a little bit about some ways that we feel that the city can respond to the housing concerns that we're hearing, and also to some of the needs from our nonprofit community. So we are very lucky to have so many dedicated nonprofits. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has deeply affected them. For a lot of our residents, our nonprofits are on the front line. They're out there providing service every day. For some of our nonprofits, they aren't frontline responders, but they have still been affected. So tonight, we're mostly talking about those nonprofits that I would call essential services nonprofits. Those that are providing food and household supplies, those that are helping people in their search for housing or helping people to maintain their housing, or actually providing housing, those that provide monetary support for people in need, like utility assistance or rental assistance, and those that are providing some significant social support for vulnerable populations. So in preparation for this meeting, I spoke with a number of our nonprofits, including all of those that we would term essential services nonprofits. And although we've only been in this crisis for a few weeks, they already had identified a lot of challenges that they were facing. First and foremost, they're seeing a big increase in their service needs. The food bank saw a 400% increase in the number of new clients enrolling. Chicks in Crisis saw a similar enormous increase. People are really needing food and household supplies right now. And at the same time that they've seen this new need for services, they've had to look at how they deliver those services. So decentralizing the services, not having everybody come to one location anymore, means more home delivery for food and goods. They've had to reduce the client interaction opportunities. For some of them, that's meant that they've had to cut back on the level of service that they provide. Or have online meetings instead of in-person meetings, and they've all indicated that they've had to implement some social distancing measures, both for their staff and also for their clients and their volunteers, which at times means that they can't serve as many people in the same amount of time as they used to. So like many of the residents and the people that they're serving, they're also facing shortages of food and supplies. Food banks in particular have been hit by a lack of donations from stores that are selling out of items, and a lack of donations from the public as they stock up on supplies themselves. We have seen some temporary closures of some of our nonprofits that had a service model that required, for example, home visits. That's not really advisable at this point, so they've suspended operations. And this is not specific to our essential services nonprofits. We heard this from all of our nonprofits, was a concern about fundraising. And so a lot of nonprofits have had to cancel or postpone fundraising events that they had planned for this spring. We have Big Day of Giving coming up, which is our region's largest fundraiser and a major source of income for many of our nonprofits. That's coming up on May 7th. Most folks are still planning to participate in that, but it's not clear that it will provide the level of donations as it has in previous years. And those folks that have postponed fundraising events have generally postponed them till the fall. And that means that there will be a lot more fundraising events in the fall. And so more events competing for what is probably the same or reduced amount of dollars that folks have to give. So I also talked to our nonprofits about what are they hearing from their clients. And their clients have some pretty consistent concerns. Loss of employment is the chief concern. A lot of folks are out of work, folks who worked in the retail and restaurant industries. And when they're out of work, they're worried about how they're going to feed their families, how they're going to afford supplies. Even folks who didn't necessarily lose their jobs, but who may have had just enough income to buy groceries for a week, can't stock up on them and can't find them in the stores now. Or especially for seniors, we heard that there's a fear of leaving home to purchase essential items, and they may not know how to use the apps to get home delivery. Consistent with the loss of employment, the ability to maintain housing that folks have, or to find new housing if they need to find it. Vacancy rates are still very, very low. And then finally, social isolation. This was a concern particularly for our senior population. And that's one of the key areas that the Senior Center focuses on. So we talked about ways that we could help our nonprofits, and we came up with some ways that we can help all of our nonprofit partners, not just those that are essential service providers, but the goal is to offer contract modifications to let people change their scope or their goals or shift budget from one category to another based on what their current needs are. And we also want to help our nonprofits get the word out about fundraising and donation requests, also volunteer requests. Although one bright light in all of this is that what I heard from our nonprofits is that by and large, they have enough volunteers, that the community has been great about stepping up to help, even as many of them have had to tell their volunteers that are 65 and older to please stay home. And so we are happy to help with getting the word out. Our public affairs office has posted some things on social media. We have some things going out in our next newsletter, and we will continue to work with our nonprofit partners to help support them in that way. We also wanted to look at and discuss tonight providing some emergency funding to those essential services nonprofits that are seeing a huge increase in demand for services or having to change their models in order to operate. And kind of the secondary issue is housing stability. So we heard from a lot of the nonprofits that their clients were worried about their housing. The council took the option to place an eviction moratorium, and the state enacted its own. And we've also fortunately seen the suspension of utility shutoffs for SMUD, PG&E, and water. We have historically had a few available resources for people who can't pay their rent or their utilities. The Food Bank and St. Vincent de Paul, both are city-funded organizations that have a little bit of money to help people in dire situations. And additionally, South County Services, they are not city funded, but they do get a little bit of funding that can be spent in Elk Grove on rental and utility assistance. But unfortunately, we don't think that the amount that those organizations have will be enough to meet the needs. So right now, what people are doing is mostly deferring payment of their rent or their utilities, and eventually those payments will need to be made. That will likely happen before households have seen their incomes recover. As people go back to work, they may be able to make their rent payment for that month, but not necessarily be able to make it for the months previous that they've missed. So we have already seen that there is an increasing number of requests for rental and utility assistance through the food bank, and whatever resources exist will be depleted very quickly. That has some impacts on both for tenants in that they will face housing instability for years potentially. Once you become unhoused or homeless, it's very, very hard to get back into housing and very expensive. And the eviction process is also very costly for landlords. It takes a lot of time. No rent is coming in during the eviction process typically. And the most affordable option that we have for preventing homelessness is to simply try and keep people in their housing. So we are fortunate to have some funding resources coming to us that can be spent on helping our nonprofits and on rent and utility assistance. We're going to get about $543,000 from the stimulus, the CARES Act, that will come through the CDBG program. That's an initial allocation that came from a $2 billion pool that was allocated in the CARES Act. There's an additional $2 billion that was allocated to CDBG that will be distributed via a formula that's yet to be decided on. And so we will likely see a little bit more money coming through CDBG. So these funds, the CARES Act funds, are for expenses necessary to respond to COVID-19 needs from March 1st until December 31st of this year. And one of the key caps that has typically been in place, the 15% public services cap, has been completely waived for this funding. And so that really does increase our flexibility and our ability to get that money out to nonprofits quickly. The funds do still have to benefit primarily low-income households, and so that is most of our essential services nonprofits, and also rental and utility assistance would qualify there. A couple of other funding sources we could look at: our community services grant. Each year we do have some nonprofits that, for whatever reason, don't spend all of their funding, and so we could look at reallocating some of those funds to our nonprofit partners. And then for rental and utility assistance, if we need more funding, we could look at using some money from our permanent local housing allocation. That's an over-the-counter, essentially an entitlement state grant that will be available to us probably in August of this year. And we can use that for rental assistance to prevent homelessness. And we can use it for many other affordable housing uses as well. And then finally, of course, there is the general fund, which is very flexible. We could use it for either services or rental and utility assistance. But in light of the need to balance that against other priorities, our recommendation would be to only use that on an interim basis while we await our CDBG CARES Act funds. So our nonprofit funding recommendations, these are our essential services nonprofits, and we talked to each of them about what their funding needs would be. This is a short-term funding need. We are not intending to allocate all of our CARES Act funding tonight, but we do want to look at the next 2 to 3 months of what folks need to keep operating to meet the increased need, and then continue to have discussions with them about what they need over the longer time frame, so July to December. But we want to take the time to do that in a thoughtful manner and see how things go so that we can make the best decisions for both short-term and long-term needs. So we're recommending $20,000 for Chicks in Crisis. This would go towards operational support and towards their purchase of needed items, mostly diapers and baby wipes and formula. For the Elk Grove Food Bank, we also recommended $20,000, and that would go to offset some of their operations, adding staffing to help with the increased demand that they've seen. They've been very fortunate to get significant donations from both Assemblymember Cooper, $20,000, and from Apple, $100,000. But those donations are primarily for food. And so they do need some additional staffing to help distribute their increased food. We have recommended also $15,600 for Elk Grove Heart. The Heart Group has stepped up in a big way to prepare lunches for our homeless residents, and they are actually taking them out to encampments. So personal delivery 5 days a week, which helps our homeless population to shelter in place, and reducing their likelihood of catching the coronavirus. For Meals on Wheels also has seen a huge increase in the number of people requesting meals. They have moved to a delivery format, and so they are now delivering shelf-stable meals in a box. And so what this amount represents is 20 additional meals for 12 weeks. It's 40 additional people served for 12 weeks. And I think that they could easily pull off of their wait list enough Elk Grove clients to meet that. We also are recommending Sacramento Self-Help Housing. They are an organization that provides our homeless services navigator. And we would like for them to be able to offer some housing supports for homeless people, and also potentially some motel and hotel vouchers for those people who are highly vulnerable or symptomatic. Our goal would be to first participate in the resources provided by the county to get people into hotel rooms, but in the event that the county resources are full, we'd like to have some money available to help our local residents. We're recommending $10,000 for the senior center to help them to transition to an online services delivery model. So offering classes and meetings online. The senior center, with the population that they serve, is likely to be impacted by COVID-19 longer than some of our other nonprofits. And so that online service delivery model will be important for them going forward. And then finally, we're recommending $5,000 for the Uplift program. That serves people who are in poverty in Elk Grove, and they've typically received a meal and some grocery assistance for their participation in programming. They, like some other nonprofits, have had to shift to an online service delivery model. Not all of their clients have internet access, so that's been a challenge. And also the clients rely on the assistance that they receive and the free meal that they receive to supplement their grocery budget. And so we're recommending some money to provide grocery gift cards and to make sure that their clientele has internet access. And so so that totals about $90,000. Sorry. And then our rental and utility assistance recommendation is to allocate an initial $100,000 of our CARES Act funding to a rental and utility assistance program that we would implement in coordination with our community nonprofit partners. We've already spoken with the food bank, and they are on board to help assist us with that program and getting the dollars out. And I think that given the number of models of successful programs out there, we could design one really quickly and begin implementation of that. And then we would evaluate the continued need for funding by the CARES Act or by the permanent local housing allocation. So our next steps, our recommendation tonight is to allocate the funds for rental and utility assistance and nonprofit support in the short term. And then we will move forward with preparing a plan for the CDBG CARES Act funding and work with our nonprofit partners to look at their longer term needs and submit that plan to HUD. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? I don't think there are any questions. Members? We're good?
Yeah, that was a great report, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. At this point, we want to open for public comment. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak or submitted any public comment?
We do have some submitted comments. Before we proceed, I'd just like to remind folks that if you're not one of the individuals speaking at the moment, one of the best practices is keep your devices on mute. It helps with some of that feedback that comes through. But I do have a series of 6 comments. My computer's getting a little bit slow, but they are pre-recorded comments, and I'm going to try and get those up as promptly as I can as the computer will allow me. And the first of these comments is going to be from Ms. Lynn Wheat.
I want to thank staff for their efforts to address the needs in our community and the report provided tonight. I support staff recommendations to assist in meeting the needs of our community through continuing support of our local nonprofits that serve our community so well. Also, I have a couple recommendations. Each of you receive $15,000 a year from our general fund to use at your discretion. If you have not committed or spent the $15,000, I suggest you each consider adding those monies to serving the immediate needs of our community. My second recommendation I would like you to consider: the city manager is able to disperse up to $50,000 from our general fund. I would like our city manager to report back on the groups or individuals who received the $50,000 and how the monies were used to meet needs in our community. Thank you.
And I'll be pulling up the next comment from Mr. Mark Headland, but I also did want to note to the council that prior to the meeting, we received 6 written comments that came in on this item, which were distributed to the full council and staff and sent around in addition to these 5 more of these audio comments. And I'll pull up Mr. Mark Headland's comments now.
Hi, this is input for tonight's city council meeting. Hello, Mayor Lee and council members. This is Mark Headland, President of the Board of Directors for Uplift People of Elk Grove and board member of Elk Grove Heart. I want to thank the council for considering the emergency funding for our city's critical nonprofits. As you can well imagine, while these are stressful times for all of us, especially daunting for those who are living on the margins. At Uplift, we continue to engage our champions and allies through internet platforms like Zoom. We're still holding our Tuesday community meetings online, but of course, we can't provide dinner as we normally do. Last night, in fact, we had 30 people join us for the meeting, and it was great to see everyone. More importantly, it shows how starved folks are for human connection. Many of our single people were so thankful just to have friends to talk to, thankful to have their Uplift family available to talk about the hardships they're having. As an example, one champion expressed his frustration that through the support of Uplift, he was really moving forward in his life to better provide for his family. Now he feels like he's hit a wall after being laid off from his job and wondering if he's going to be able to find work again once this crisis is over. It's pretty hard to stay optimistic when this happens, and that's why it's so important for Uplift to keep going to maintain the positive relationships we've built between champions, allies, and our other volunteers. But even as we keep the program going, the financial hit is looming large. Many of our champions have been laid off. They've seen their work dry up, or at best are suffering severe cuts in their hours. They already struggle financially, and of course it's now much worse. Some are falling behind on their rent and SMUD payments. One single mother who's still working but has lost business told us she's having to choose between a car repair she needs and buying groceries for her family. Many depend on the Tuesday night dinners as part of their family budgeting for food. And also our newest group receives incentive grocery cards of $20 a week to go through the educational part of the program. They are missing that now as well. Added up, and it's a significant hit to their food budget. And that's why we're asking for the emergency funding, so we can provide a weekly $40 grocery card over the next several weeks to all of our champions who are struggling. If we can do this for our 15 champions, half of whom have children at home, it'll go a long way to easing their financial situation, as well as helping relieve the increased stress they face. For a couple of them who don't have internet access, we're also hoping to help them get that so they can stay connected with us. Now, please know we are also collecting other donations to fill this need. Some of our volunteers have already been helping champions with groceries, but we can't fulfill the true need without the city's help. I feel privileged to personally know all of you, and I know you are all compassionate people. This emergency funding is a drastic measure, but of course these are drastic times. I thank you for your compassion for those less fortunate, and I urge approval of the emergency funding recommendation for Uplift and for all the nonprofits under consideration. Thanks a lot.
And that was the comment from Mr. Headland. I would like to put out there that it sounds as though what we're encountering with some of the sound files is their external source has a varying level of volume. So I apologize to our viewing public who may be pulling these items up. You may have to adjust your volume. We do have sound techs that are working with us in order to increase the volume output, but it sounds as though part of this process in which we're receiving external content. Sometimes the volume's loud and clear, and sometimes it's a little muffled. So we appreciate everyone working with us as we go through this process. The next comment I have, I wasn't able to catch the first name, but it's Mr. Lewis, and I'll pull that up now.
Good afternoon, Jason, and thank you for taking my call. My name is Lance Lewis, and I'm calling regarding agenda item 10.3, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to make allocations of emergency funding to the city's nonprofit partners, providing essential services including food, household items, rent, utility assistance, and other needs in response to the COVID-19 crisis. As I said, my name is Lance Lewis. I'm calling on behalf of the people of Elk Grove, of which I'm a board member. As you know, our goal of the program is to work closely with those who are doing the hard work of creating more abundant lives for themselves and their families. We call them champions, and several of them have been laid off from work or endured significant cuts in their work hours. Others are facing unexpected expenses that are, of course, compounded by this pandemic. Thank you for all that you're doing for not only our nonprofits, but the other nonprofits in our city. Thank you for your dedication in helping our city pull through this. Thank you for the funding that you're providing. We would ask for the full amount of $5,200 because by providing this extra emergency funding, we can relieve some of the stress for our champions, which allows them to continue their progress in our program to help create more abundant lives. Again, thank you. We really appreciate what the city is doing to reach out and to help give extra support to those who are less fortunate. Have a good day, and please stay safe.
And our next submitted comment is from Diane Lampy.
Hello, my name is Diane Lampy, and I'm calling in support of the recommended allocation of $5,000 of emergency funding for Uplift People of Elk Grove to provide groceries and household supplies for the champions in our program. There are more than 30 active clients, including families and individuals, who were already in a situation of barely surviving economically before this pandemic. Now they are experiencing mounting bills and/or food insecurity. This weekly grocery supplement to all of the clients through the end of June can relieve some of the stress and help them continue to progress in our program towards creating abundant lives. I am an ally in the program, and I thank you for joining me in this important community support.
And our next comment is from Elizabeth Potts.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Potts, and I was calling regarding the Uplift emergency funding that was going to be addressed tonight at the council meeting. I just wanted to point out that while a lot of us are struggling in some sort of way right now, that this is an especially difficult time for people who are already surviving, barely surviving economically, and this pandemic has made it a lot harder on them to meet their basic needs. Several of our champions have been laid off from their jobs or have had significant cut in wages or hours. People who are self-employed are losing clients. Unexpected car issues are causing problems that they can't repair them, and so they aren't being able to get to work. Anyway, so what we're trying to do at Uplift is help move them forward, and this is a time that's just difficult for everyone, so we're stretching ourselves to be able to meet their needs, and we're doing all that we can to maintain a relationship with them, to continue building that, to continue supporting them through online platforms, Zoom calls, and trying to meet their financial needs, their emotional needs, and getting through this as best we can as a community. So a few of our clients haven't been able to participate online because they do not have internet access. So we're hoping that we can provide that for them over the next few months so that we can remain connected with them and help them through this pandemic, and so that they don't fall farther behind. Also, our program is built upon weekly dinner meetings, which are not happening right now, but they're missing their weekly meal that they have, and oftentimes they take home enough for like a lunch or dinner afterwards at home. They're not having that provision right now either. So the increased cost of food and if this extra emergency funding is provided, we'll be able to relieve some of the stress that our champions are under, which would allow them to continue to move forward and make progress in the program, helping them to achieve and create more abundant lives. I really appreciate that the city is reaching out to help give extra support to the less fortunate, and hope that the city will be able to support Uplift during this crisis. Thank you.
And our sixth and final submitted comment, and I've been scanning my email, but I haven't seen anything come in, but this last one's from an individual identified as Crystal.
Hi, my name's Crystal. I wanted to leave a message and let you know how the nonprofits such as Uplift, how helpful they are in these times of need. And I belong to the program. I'm an ally and a champion. And owning my own business and what this hardship created for me as losing much of my business and not having a source of income to be able to pay my bills and put food on the table for my kids, that this nonprofit really, truly is helpful and changed our lives, and how much that money would mean to the program to be able to help the other champions in supporting them. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And that concludes the previously submitted audio comments. And again, with a check to my email inbox, looks clear. And that concludes the public comment submitted on item 10.3.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, I want to close public comment, council deliberation and direction. Members?
I'll take this first, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Ms. Sponsiger for reporting this out. Everything she said was spot on. As somebody who runs a nonprofit organization that caters to families and communities and individuals with barriers, I was a huge advocate for this just because I knew that with this pandemic, it was only going to increase so much more in our community. And so the nonprofits that she reached out to and just them being able to tell her the support that is needed is so crucial to our city being supportive in it so that these organizations can continue to serve this community. I did reach out to Miss Marie Giacchino from the Elk Grove Food Bank. She and I had a really extensive conversation about the two main items that most people need are food and shelter, and that her percentage of increase went up 400%, and that they are going through food like crazy, but also that the biggest concern that folks going through and receiving services and receiving the assistance with food are also letting her know that they needed assistance with rental assistance as well too. And so when this came out, and I know Ms. Bontrager said that the food bank said that they would be willing to do this. I know that they've already been impacted, but I offered to have my staff come in and assist as well too, because once this gets out there, and with the amount of individuals that have already shared interest in stating that they need this assistance, I think they're going to be even more impacted. And so I do want to let the council know that I will be working with her. She and I said that we'll sit down, we'll work together. I will send staff out there to put their time in through my organization, but we will take no funding from this at all. We're just going to help her and her staff with the intake and then pass it on so that the food bank can assist them in the final rounds. But I think being able to at least give her staff that are experienced in this and have done this for years and having some knowledge on how to do this and entering them into a system so that we can keep track of them will help the food bank tremendously. And so I wanted to put that out there. I do want to thank our city manager, Mr. Bierman, also for pulling this together really quick. I mean, I'm really impressed with our city being able to put this much funding in. At first, I was looking at only $50,000, and so to be able to come up with $100,000 just for supportive services around rental assistance and utilities is really going to be beneficial to the families here in Elk Grove. And hopefully, we'll run through this. I know we'll run through this real quick, and that we'll be able to find more funding to be able to assist more families as well too. So I support staff's recommendation, but I'll stop there so that other council members can chime in.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and weigh in here as well. I want to thank city staff for finding a solution to what Councilmember Nguyen brought to the table of wanting to help out our nonprofits. As one who also works on several nonprofit boards and helps with the fundraising end of things, I can say that the struggles that Sarah laid out are absolutely real. But, more importantly, I mean, I've said to people that, I'm fortunate to have been blessed with resources and a pretty stable mental outlook. And these are trying times. And so for people who are already on the bubble, I can't hardly imagine the stress they must be under. And so to be able to step up and help those who are helping them, I think is absolutely a critical role for the city to do right now. And I support this effort 100%.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mayor, as Councilmember Soon, I just want to echo those sentiments. I have every faith in my colleague, Councilmember Nguyen, and her ability to execute. I'm just, happy that we're able to provide at least a little bit of help for all those out there in our community. And with that, I also support staff's recommendation.
Excellent. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, you always do a phenomenal job. And, all the nonprofits that I talk to day in, day out, all year long, they said, if it wasn't for your love for what they do and what you're able to give them and make them feel so warm and welcome when they come to the city, hat in hand. And the comments that were made by Councilman Hume and the others that, this is an unbelievable time that we're going through. And, I think a lot of us are blessed in many ways, and to be able to share those blessings, supporting them, whether it's personally or in our positions with the council, and being able to use our positions to help generate more money and bring it in to help all these different nonprofits is very touching in so many ways. And I wholeheartedly support this, and glad that we're able to, breathe a little life into all these nonprofits that are really, really essential for our community. So great job, Sarah, and definitely support this.
Excellent. Very well said. I think all that has been said is on point. So with that being the case, I'll go ahead and move it. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second to Vice Mayor. Roll call vote, please.
And for that roll call vote, with the motion by Lee, second by Detrick, to approve the staff resolution, Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Hume?
Aye.
Councilmember Suen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick?
Big yes.
And Mayor Lee?
Yes.
The item passes 5-0.
Okay, let's move to the next item.
That will take us on to item 10.4, which is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to take all actions reasonably necessary to participate in the LIFT Investing COVID-19 Emergency Investment and Relief Program and temporarily waiving certain provisions of the city's community bank investment guidelines.
That is not right. Hope you can hear me.
Looks like yeah, it says Elk Grove Aquatic Center fee update.
I see that.
I think we need something else.
I don't know why that's doing that. Is that any better?
Still projecting the same presentation.
Okay. PowerPoint window. Okay.
Try
so
sharing your screen.
Yep, I got it. I think for some reason it's pulling up multiple PowerPoint windows. I don't know what that is. Is that?
We're back to you. Now we're there.
Okay.
And just do a full size on that.
Yep, got it. Sorry about that. I don't know where that came from. I have nothing to do with it. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'm Daryl Doan. I'm your city's Economic Development Director. The item in front of you tonight is a resolution authorizing the city manager to take all actions reasonably necessary to participate in the Lift Investing COVID-19 Emergency Investment and Relief Program, and to temporarily waive certain provisions of the city's community bank investment guidelines. So as you know, much like our nonprofits are struggling to make ends meet, and our residents, our businesses are also right now struggling to make ends meet in these unprecedented times due to the COVID-19 emergency. So we have been looking for some weeks at ways that we can help businesses gain access to short-term capital, which is the principal need of most of our local businesses right now. And we engaged in conversations with a group called Lift Investing, and have worked for the last week or so to fine-tune the details of a new loan program, which is the subject of the action in front of you tonight. So the COVID-19 Emergency Investment and Relief Program is a new loan program for Elk Grove businesses affected by COVID-19. It was created in partnership with Lift Investing and Region Business. I'll tell you about them in a moment. In response to the unprecedented economic impacts of COVID-19 to local businesses, the program provides a simple, ready-to-use platform for the city to invest emergency relief funds at participating program lenders' banks. And then those funds would be lent out by those banks rapidly and on flexible terms to our businesses in need. The partners in this program are, as I noted, Lift Investing and Region Business. Lift Investing is a private company that is managed by Region Business's board of directors and its CEO. Region Business, as you know, is a regional economic development organization based in Sacramento, who we have engaged with in several different occasions on several different things. And the other partner in this program are program lenders. These are the community banks who will underwrite, originate, and administer the loans on the city's and Lift Investing's behalf. So just very briefly, right now, the city has existing community bank investment guidelines. Under those guidelines, the city may deposit up to 25% of its short-term investment funds with regional community banks. The principle being that if we invest city funds with regional community banks, the impacts of those deposits will be felt more locally. Up to $15 million can be invested. And currently we have $12.5 million on deposit. There are three key requirements for any bank to participate in that program. Those are requirements around liquidity, yield, and security of the city's funds. The city's funds must earn a rate of interest that meets or exceeds something called LAIF, which is the local agency investment fund that is currently approximately 1.8%. Banks must be able and willing to process withdrawals in a single day when we need our cash, and the banks must have an IDC ranking of superior. The council action tonight in approving this program, which I'll describe in some detail in a moment, would require you to temporarily waive some of those requirements as they relate to yield and liquidity, but only for the funds invested in this new program, not the $12.5 million that we already have on deposits under our existing community bank investment guidelines. So the new loan program, the COVID-19 Emergency Investment and Relief Program, this is what it entails. It will provide critical and timely financial support to Elk Grove businesses affected by the emergency situation. The city would make an initial deposit of $1 million with program lenders. We would potentially follow that with an additional deposit not to exceed $1.5 million within 90 days of the initial deposit. So this could be up to $2.5 million. The additional deposit, though, would be contingent upon the city's opinion of the effectiveness of the program during the first 90-day initial deposit period. The deposited funds would earn 0% interest, so there is some cost to this in terms of interest we might otherwise earn on the monies we had on deposit. But it's 0% so that those interest payments that would normally be paid by the bank to the city could be used to lower a borrower's interest rate. The deposit term for the city's funds would be up to 18 months, but again, it could be as few as 90 days, depending upon how the program progresses. And program lenders are guaranteeing the return of all deposited funds to the city at the end of the deposit term, regardless of the lending decisions that they make or potential loan charge-offs. Program lenders under this program would use all best efforts to lend 100% of city funds, 100% of city funds to Elk Grove businesses adversely affected by the emergency situation. The initial $1 million deposit would be lent out, as I said, in the first 90 days. Loans would include 3 to 6 month deferrals of principal and interest. The loan terms would be structured to offer the greatest flexibility for individual borrowers. The city, as I noted, the city interest savings that would be retained by banks would be passed on to borrowers. And the program and the lenders would target smaller loans that help as many Elk Grove businesses and retain or create as many jobs as possible. So how this program would work, again, this is a platform by which the city can quickly make a deposit that can then be turned around and quickly lent out. Essentially, we're outsourcing our ability to make loans to small businesses to community lenders who do that for a living. That's their business. It's not our business. We don't want to be in that business. That's why this program can be so effective. We have banks standing by. I'm going back, sorry. We have banks standing by who know how to underwrite, originate, and monitor loans. So the next steps would be that the city would make the initial deposit of $1 million. Interested borrowers would then apply through Lyft at their website, www.lyftinvesting.com. There is a website up today, but that will soon be updated with all of the application information. Applicants, these are Elk Grove-based small businesses who are experiencing economic hardship as a result of COVID. That is what this program is designed for. The applicants would be pre-screened by Lyft Investing and Economic Development. Pre-screened applicants would then be referred by Lyft Investing to their program lenders. And then the borrowers at that point would need to go through the bank's regular application process and be approved after standard bank underwriting and loan origination processes. So that is the program. That is my presentation. My recommendation is approval, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Yes, Mayor, this is Councilmember Soon. Daryl, thank you for this presentation. I'm glad to see this come forward. I'm curious, I didn't catch it, maybe. Is there a maximum amount on any of these loans?
No, there's not a maximum amount built into the program guidelines, not contractually, but the guidelines do ask or require banks to target smaller loans so that we can help as many businesses as possible. But that's a fine line between, doing $10,000, $100,000 loans out of the initial $1 million, or a mix of smaller and larger loans, because it really just depends upon the creditworthiness of the business and what kind of economic impact they might have long-term on the city versus short-term needs. So I think the loan amounts will vary, but the banks are committed to targeting smaller loan amounts.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Councilmember Hume. Daryl, I apologize if I missed it in your presentation. I didn't see it anywhere in our printed staff report. Is there any requirement for the interest that the program lender charges to the borrower?
No, there's no cap on that either, because again, they have to go through an underwriting process and the interest rate will vary. But the understanding with Lyft Investing and the lenders, which is all reflected in the program guidelines attached to your staff report, is that the goal is to set the interest rate as low as possible with as flexible of repayment terms as possible, and that the city's 0% interest situation will be forwarded on to the borrower. But contractually, no, there's no cap on the loan amount. There's no cap on the interest rate. We did that because we wanted flexibility, because we don't know what kind of loans we're going to see. And the way we structured this is that if you don't like, council, how it's going after the first 90 days, we can walk away from this. So that's how we structured it.
And so again, I looked over the program attached to the staff, or the breakdown attached to the staff report, and I'm not seeing how the bank gets the money at a 0% interest, and in exchange for that, is there anything that codifies what they're going to be doing as far as making that money more available with less hurdles?
Well, what codifies it is attachment 2 to the staff report, which is the program guidelines, the principles by which the money will be deposited and then lent. And again, it's intentionally not a contractual situation. When your finance director goes to deposit the money, it'll be like any other deposit account. But again, because this is a public document and a public action, and because we have list investing standing behind this, if the bank took our money and made one loan to an existing relationship of $1 million to somebody who employed 5 people, and they made that loan at market rates, we would consider that a failure of the program, and we would pull our money out and be done. That's the hammer in the back of this.
Gotcha. So then basically you're hanging your hat on 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th bullet point that says program lenders will be able to provide funding for new loans to new and existing relations, which will include 3 to 6 month deferrals of principal and interest payments for new loan originations, and per prudent lending guidelines, lenders will offer payment options that provide the greatest flexibility for borrowers and that will pass on to borrowers program lenders savings from not having to pay interest on the city's deposits. That's the only thing in the program that says anything about how the banks will treat this money.
That's correct.
Okay. And so then you're obviously going to be keeping an eye on that, and then that'll be a part of the 90-day report back of
Yes.
whether or not the intent was met.
Yes, and that's the purpose of the pre-screening, right? If we see something that isn't keeping with these principles and with the council's thoughts and comments tonight, we can screen that type of loan out of the process. So I think that's another check and balance on this.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Vice Mayor Detrick. More of a comment. Daryl, thanks for the presentation. I'm not sure if everybody knows that this, exactly what we're looking at here tonight, was sent to the city of Rancho Cordova, and they adopted it last night with the exact same language that we have. I know a lot of time and thought's gone into this and several revisions. I'm really pleased to see what we have here and look forward to hopefully having consensus from my colleagues to move this forward and see how this plays out. Hopefully we get some very, very positive results and look at coming back and adding more money in the future.
I agree with the Vice Mayor. I think, the whole purpose is finding something that would work for our residents and our businesses as well in our city. And so we found something that would work for our residents. And so this year, I believe, is going to be something that our businesses, our small businesses, can use to assist them through this.
Proud to support this. This sounds like we're on the right track. And so with no further ado, I'll go ahead and move it.
Second.
Is there a second? There's a second. All right.
You haven't had public comment yet, have you?
Say that again.
Have you had public comment yet?
Not as of yet, but
how about that?
To throw it out there,
go ahead and do that. That's a great idea. Let's go ahead and open up public comments. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone in the public
well,
like to comment?
I'll let the mayor and council know that there are no comments that have been submitted beforehand, and none are sitting in my email box, or there's no pre-recorded messages. So at this time, I don't have any other signups for public comment.
All right, excellent. Then let's go ahead and close public comments. And got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
And for the roll call vote, hold on, let me make sure I'm on the right system here. With the motion by Lee, second by Hume, for adopting the resolution of the staff recommendation.
That was soon, but doesn't matter.
It can be Suen. I'll have that seconded by Suen. Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Hume?
I actually did second the motion. Yes.
I did.
Councilmember Suen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick?
Absolutely, yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
And with that, we have a 5-0 that passes the resolution of item 10.4. That will take us on to item 10.5 for our viewing audience. If you're seeing anything on the monitors, my computer decided to shut off that was running the Granicus system. But we are on item 10.5, which is to consider a resolution adopting revisions to the City of Elk Grove City Council Norms and Procedures Manual. Good evening, Council. I'm Jason Lindgren, your city clerk. I'll be presenting this item, and the brief version of it is back on March 11th, I believe it was, the council provided direction to bring back the City Council Norms and Procedures Manual for discussion. Staff didn't have any items to bring back with that discussion other than a procedural item last November. I believe we took action by resolution to change the summer recess to the first meeting of July, and that's just a minor kind of cleanup item on the norms and procedures, but otherwise staff would be turning over the norms and procedures to the council for action on this item. I will let you know we received a written comment, and then I do have 4 recorded comments that came forward on this item.
Okay, from recollection, Jason, I think it was the Vice Mayor who asked for this to be returned to the council.
Indeed, and then consensus was provided by the council to bring the item back.
All right. Mr. Vice Mayor, you want to go up?
And just to put it out there, we do also have 4 pre-recorded comments as well. If you did want to hear those first, that's an option.
Yeah, I'd like to hear public comment first.
With that, I'm just going to pull up that share screen on the monitor, and then we'll go from there.
All right, so let's go ahead and open public comment. Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
And I'm working on that. My computer's being a little cantankerous at this point. I'm almost there. There are 4 audio comments in relation to this item, and the first one is an anonymous comment.
I would like to leave a public comment to be read during today's City Council meeting on item 10.5. Consider a resolution adopting revisions to the City of Elk Grove City Council Norms and Procedures Manual. Recently, a resolution on the City Council was proposed where the leader of a news media entity was given an award for their 10 years of service to the City of Elk Grove. The mayor declined to approve this resolution, reasoning that if one news source was to be recognized, that all news sources in Elk Grove should be recognized. The rest of the City Council members all opted to circumvent this by creating a plaque with their names on it without the mayor's name. On behalf of news organization, I believe that all news outlets should be recognized in one form or another. News organizations help the community engage in complex world of legislature and law. When a majority of the City Council recognize one media outlet or entity with a plaque of achievement over others in Elk Grove, even in the face of objection to the resolution, it demonstrates its biasness and the dissemination of information. The separation of government from press is critical to ensure the community is informed with fair and just facts. If this exclusivity is the general practice of the City Council, as it stands, especially in the pursuant to 10.5, consider a resolution adopting revisions to the City of Elk Grove City Norms and Procedures, Elk Grove could be an alarming place where different voices are dismissed over others. Thank you.
And the next comment is from Danessa Attilis.
Hello, Jason. This item is for 10.5, and I would like my comments to be placed publicly and entered into the record, please. My name is Danessa Attilis, and I live in Elk Grove, District 1. My understanding of the impetus for considering this council norms change was because the mayor didn't sign off on a resolution that was to
Everything
be
okay,
given to the
Jason?
web blog, Elk Grove Laguna Forum, and its
The
founders.
system's getting a little cantankerous as we're getting
I'm
late
glad that we
into the
have a
night.
mayor
I think
that
we're
does
past its
not blindly
bedtime.
sign off on city accolades for political expediency, especially in this case where the blogger, Doc Souza, has cultivated a space that many of our Elk Grove residents aren't welcome in. If you have differing opinions from his own, if you name an opportunity for growth or reflection on his page, people have been subject to ridicule, name-calling, threats, and blocking. I've personally experienced this firsthand when I appeared in front of the council following a string of racist events in Elk Grove and spoke in favor about the Humanity campaign, but I preferred a logo that didn't only highlight the word man. For being a vulnerable and engaged citizen with an alternate opinion, my comments were taken from the record and used in his forum and on the blog to call me a feminazi. There's countless other stories that residents could tell. We should not be uplifting opinion websites that personally attack our residents. Further, it's unusual that we would give an award to a blogger when I was unable to find an equal award given to our other reputable news outlets like the Elk Grove Citizen, whose paper has been online as well and has been covering our city for much longer. Why was this blog elevated over other news sources is a concern for me. Checks on power are always a good idea. Checks and balances are a fundamental tenet of our nation's founding. I can't imagine the benefit of removing a check on power, especially at the local level where each action our city council takes directly impacts the residents of Elk Grove. I do not think the norm should be amended. And in fact, I would like to see more resolutions brought to community discussion. Thank you for your time.
The third comment is an anonymous comment as well.
Yes, this is an anonymous citizen of Elk Grove, and I wanted to call and I want my comments to be played publicly and entered into the record. I've lived in Elk Grove for many years, and I'm understanding of the impetus for considering this council norm's change was because the mayor did not sign off on a resolution that was to be given to the weblog Elk Grove Laguna Forum and the founder of that blog. I'm glad that we have a mayor that does not blindly sign off on city accolades for political expediency, especially in this case where the blogger has cultivated a space where residents aren't welcome. I was part of the movement to call out racism in Elk Grove when the hair salon had racist remarks written on a note, and Tracy Stafford had put up a letter letting the city know that people were afraid of the location where the town meeting was going to be held because it was dark, and the blog put that letter up and shined a negative light on that request for safety. So I don't believe that it should be okay for this type of thing to happen and someone to be rewarded for that. So I would ask that the city council not change the way that it does things so that someone can receive an award or commendation for things of this sort. Thank you.
And the fourth comment is submitted by Mr. Mark Graham.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Graham, Elk Grove. This agenda item is very cryptic. It is not possible to know what the council really wants to do with this agenda item or why this is on the agenda rather than on the consent calendar. The first thing I ask the council to do tonight is to explain why this item is on the agenda and what you want to do with it. The only recommendation by the staff is to memorialize the recognition of the annual summer recess as the first meeting in July per resolution number 2019-263. This looks like a stealth agenda item. At the March 11 council meeting, I made a recommendation regarding telecommunications policy, and I asked the council to briefly answer a question about it. I also read to you part of the Ralph Brown Act that specifically authorizes the council to answer questions or respond to comments from the audience on an item not on the agenda, or to direct staff to do so. Section 54954.
Okay, I think that's sufficient. Just included in the public as part of the official record.
But with that, I don't have any other comments that have been submitted via email. My box doesn't have any items that have come in. That would conclude public comment on item 10.5.
Okay, we can go ahead and close public comment. Council deliberation and direction. Members?
So let me just kick off here before we get into the weeds on actually discussing what it contains. On page 16 of the manual, page 19 of the staff report, the first bullet point, I believe, has a typo. There should be a space between establishes and policies, and it's not there.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Ms. Vice Mayor Detrick, I'll jump in. So one of the items that I wanted to look at was under proclamations and certificates and recognitions. And I think that's on page 13, I think. Yeah, on page 13, proclamations and certificates in recognition of appreciation. I think we should add a line in there. It's at the mayor's discretion or a majority of the council.
I'd support that. Makes it democratic. Most of our decisions are done by a majority of the council.
So I would have a question, Mr. Vice Mayor. How would you propose we go about this? My understanding is there was a number of requests previously in how this was established as to be more efficient. I would say, and by virtue of me being in this office and conducting myself from the get-go, there's only 2 times in which I have asked for the clerk to bring this to council. The first one was the resolution on LGBTQ, and this is the second time. Resolutions that I deem potentially controversial, I will ask the clerk to bring it to council. And so the question here is, how would we remedy this to be more efficient with our time, and how do we resolve the fact that whenever resolutions come in, we aren't having a meeting? Do we wait until every resolution is being considered by council at every meeting, or how should we move on that?
That's why I said or. It could be mayor's discretion or the majority of the council. So if the majority of council puts in a request, then that moves it forward. It could be a majority of the council calls the city manager with a direction, and as soon as he gets a majority, he has a direction to move on.
So Vice Mayor Detrick, this is John Hobbs. I think what the mayor may be getting at is how that might implicate the open meeting laws, the Brown Act specifically. So if a majority of the council wants to act, they can certainly do that. It would just need to be done at a city council meeting, and that the logistics of that can certainly be addressed, but that would be how we would do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, Mr. Vice Mayor. I think Mr. Hobb has hit the nail right on it. For any, it's always more effective if we as a council is in support of a resolution. It's always way better. Out of respect for each and every one of you, I think that whenever there are questionable resolutions that may be potentially controversial, I would be happy to see that come to council. I think in this particular resolution that some of the public commenters are referring to, there was just not enough time. I think the resolution request came in on a Friday by Councilmember Darren Sun, and so the schedule was to present on a Monday, which we had no meeting in between. I would support your request, Mr. Vice Mayor.
So I'll make a motion to move that forward.
I'll second that.
So, Councilmember Detrick, Vice Mayor Detrick, I assume that your motion would also include the staff recommendation to have the administrative change for the council recess, consistent with the resolution?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
So that's for the amendment to adjust the items on the recognitions, but otherwise to approve the staff resolution as presented. That's the motion by Detrick, second by Suen. For the roll call vote, Councilmember Wynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hume?
Aye.
Councilmember Suen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick?
Yes.
And Mayor Lee?
Yes.
And with that, the item passes 5-0.
All right, next item.
And that will take us to our last item on the agenda, that being item 10.6, which is to consider policies to outline expectations of applicants to city boards and commissions. This is an item that came back from direction provided for the council to return this item back from our meeting on February 26. The first part of the staff report goes over what our current application process is and what it contains. And part of that discussion and direction I think that was provided was that our application process doesn't have a lot of guidelines. It provides just the application itself. The application invites applicants to add additional materials onto their application for submittal consideration. But after that, the city's process is silent as far as expectations that might be out there for potential candidates to be appointed to boards and commissions. Pages 2 and 3 of the staff report kind of get into some of the bullet points as far as what we've seen as past practice for items that are out there. And pardon me, I'm just trying to pull that up real quick to have in front of me. And part of what we've seen from past practice in council meetings is some aspects that were had applicants being commended by the council, and what those were was whether or not an applicant reached out to communicate directly with members of the council, whether by email, phone, or in-person meetings. Likewise, whether the applicant communicated with current sitting members of a committee or a commission. There was also items about whether the applicant was present at the meeting in which the appointment process was taking place, whether the applicant displayed endorsement by the community or a showing of support from the community. And in some instances, we've also had how applicants have responded to questions posed by members of the City Council. In addition to those aspects that we've seen in the past, we've also staff, as we looked back at past appointment considerations, there's been those elements where we've sought geographic representation by district, including with the school district or with the youth commission, that we've looked at what schools are represented. And those become some sort of expectation in terms of perhaps weights or considerations that are given on a specific instance when we look at the existing composition of any of our boards or commissions. As well with the youth commission, sometimes we've seen an element about age, and so that if there's a younger applicant, they have future opportunities, and so that might be an element in which they are not appointed at a given time, but encouraged to reapply and be open in the future. And as well, we've seen a commitment to encouraging diversity in representation on our boards. As we went through the process of staff looking at this, and one of the initial comments was that if there was a set of expectations for guidelines, the city's website is a great vehicle in order to publish those and broadcast out such information. What we'd be seeking for tonight is whether or not there are expectations that the council would like to be projected out to potential candidates for appointment to committees and commissions. Staff also saw some opportunities just to do some informational items. I think those are detailed as part of the staff report, but just how applicants can stay informed of vacancy openings, what the process is as far as when the applications are put together and when they're transmitted over to the council, and that a lot of these informational items would work in conjunction with any kind of expectations that are set. One last element that I would put out there about if we do set certain expectations, some things that would assist with staff is that if there were any expectations given in order to put certain parameters, like let's say we're seeking candidates for a particular district representation, it would be helpful to have that direction if that's what goes out in the notice initially, to give folks a sense of what is being sought for filling applicant seats. The other part that would be a consideration is that if there was a expectation given for applicants to reach out to members of the council or other members of committees and commissions, one consideration staff gave was just the timing in which the council actually receives the applications from applicants, and the time from when a appointment consideration is given. So at this point, though an applicant could reach out to any member of the council or other commission members early in the process, the applications themselves do not reach the council until the Friday prior to the appointment consideration. And if there was an expectation for folks to reach out, there may be consideration that the council would want to give to provide a longer time frame between when the applications are delivered to the council to the point of the nomination consideration. The last part of that is what we've used for a deadline for applications has been one that's mostly administrative. So when we set a deadline, it's with the intent that we can have the materials to print the listing of candidates in the agenda packet. But the practice to date has been that that's a soft administrative deadline. We still have the ability to receive green sheets, distribute memos. And so for folks that apply a little bit later in a deadline process, as our current practice, those applications are forwarded to the full council for consideration as long as it's before the period of the consideration of the item. So part of it is that if we did have a period in which there's a longer period of time in which applicants are given an opportunity to reach out to the council, if we were to give the applications out to the council and then provide more time before the consideration, we may want to look at having a more firm deadline of not accepting further applications, as it would just kind of continue the process down the road. But with that, that's what staff came back with on this item for establishing expectations. I think the main part of it is that something that wants to be broadcast on our website? If so, we can do that through the website with some informational items. And at that point, if we have some idea on what those expectations are, we could also craft some direction on deadlines and things such as that. With that, I'm available for questions and open this to the council. I will jump in really quick because the one element is I don't have any members of the public signed up to speak on this item. I do have some email coming in. But that's just a comment as far as the broadcast, which hopefully is still going out there to our public. So But with that, I don't have any further public comment on this item for 10.6.
Okay, then let's officially open and close since there's no members of the public signing to speak. Members?
Yeah, I'm the one who I think brought this up. So I think, Mayor, this is actually specifically for you. You typically have told people when they come that if they've met with you, they attend the council meeting and they speak at public comment, that raises a higher level of your consideration for their applications. I think and I've had many complaints from people who didn't know that was a requirement to be, because that is not put forward in the application process. So that's why my suggestion is, if that's going to be at least part of your process, as long as you're the mayor, that needs to be part of the information that's put out there.
No, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Vice Mayor, and I have no problem including that. I would also, anyone who contacts me, I consistently have shared with people that they should be contacted, council members as well. And I think to be consistent, I don't know how we would memorialize this in the procedure for boards and commissions, but maybe adding the fact that the expectation is that if you want the appointing body to know you more, it would be helpful for you to reach out. I don't know, Jason, what do you think?
I think as from the staff perspective, we've given some examples of what's been stated in the past. We could use that as a menu option. I mean, we can basically use those types of bullet points in order to list that up. And that would be kind of setting an expectation of how to reach out to the full council in terms of those expectations. And then beyond that, that would be kind of a landing page on our commission page. So with the expectations for potential applicants, then we just have some informational items as far as how the process goes, if the process remains the way that we currently conduct business.
Right. I think where the vice mayor's suggestion, I hear what he's saying. It's important to have some transparency and clarity, but I'm fine with, so long as we have a consistent message suggesting that anyone who does apply, they should be reaching out to every member of the council. That would be super.
Well, I'm not so sure that's what we're saying. This Councilmember Soon. I mean, maybe we want to put in there something a little bit more as a consideration, but I don't know that. I mean, Mr. Mayor, it's your prerogative. If you want to say meeting with you is the criteria, that's fine. I happen to believe it's more helpful to them if they met with all of us, but I don't know that it's something we should codify, because that may not be the governing criteria. I mean, these are political appointments, so I don't know if you want to make it your criteria. I mean, that's your prerogative, but I don't know that we should codify it.
And Councilman Sun, and I'm fine with that as well. I also understand where you're coming from. I'm fine with the current process and the way it flows. Every time that I always apply for any sort of appointment or job, I make an effort to make sure that I meet with the hiring manager or the hiring entity. I think that's just good practice. Now, it may not be as obvious to not everyone. That's perhaps maybe the reasons why folks are asking questions. And so, out of respect for the request of the vice mayor, I'm open to that. But with all due respect, even if I was to make a recommendation, the council as a whole needs to ratify it. So if that is the case, then let's assume that I meet with this super dynamite candidate who only met with me, but have not had the opportunity to meet with the council members. Now, it would be a disservice for this candidate to not have the opportunity to meet with the council members. And so that's where I'm going. So both of your recommendations, the vice mayor and also council member Darren Soon, I'm open to going either way. I'm perfectly fine the way that it is, but I also hear and respect the vice mayor's suggestion. So, somewhere in the middle, I'm open.
Well, the reason I brought it forward, there's several people who felt like they were penalized because they didn't meet all of your 3 criterias. So if they have no idea that those are your criterias, they're at a disadvantage. And there's nothing that's codified that they're to speak with the mayor, attend the council meeting, and speak at public comment. I think they're all great ideas, but if somebody doesn't know that they're penalized for not doing it, that's not right either.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Vice Mayor. My only thing here is that it's not a hard negative if somebody doesn't contact me. When you have 2 applicants and one contacted me and actually requested for a meeting, that person's going to rank higher just because of the fact that they made an effort and they've done this before. Now, it's not only from me who said this. I've heard from other council members during sessions where we make comments specifically giving kudos to those who actually show up. Now, that being the case, I think there's some value with that, because if somebody who's just in the process of applying makes an effort to show up, it shows that they have initiative. And these are characteristics that obviously, we would want to look for.
So I guess would maybe if anybody applies for any of our positions, would we want to have like a tips to a successful applicant, will contact the mayor. I mean, mayor, if that's something that really helps you in making the decision. I certainly don't have the time I'll be completely honest. I mean, sometimes we get 13, 14, 15, 20 applicants. And if I have them all calling and wanting to meet with me, and when I just don't have the time for that. And I don't know, maybe other council members do. I appreciate them sending an email and I read it, and I appreciate them coming. But we've also, since I've been on the council, we've also selected individuals that didn't come and that didn't speak and that didn't reach out to us. And so I think it's, I think since Mr. Mayor, you're the one that makes the final decision on this, is this something that maybe you want to put out there when folks apply, that tips on a successful, I don't know, how to get selected kind of a thing? Because after the last selection for the Planning Commission, I did get an extensive email from a couple of folks on there stating the same thing too, that they didn't realize that if they brought a lot of people with them and if they met with the mayor, that made a difference, right? And so they said if they knew that, then they would have done that. But I don't know if you want to put that out there, or are you just looking at them all on a different basis? I guess, I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, what do we put together so that way others have a fair chance?
And Councilmember Nguyen, I appreciate that. I think that's a very good recommendation. That may be a middle ground, as opposed to not necessarily codifying specifically what needs to be done, but maybe tips on how you could rise above all the other applicants. That may be a great middle ground. But in regards to the last appointment, though, I relied on the council members and their recommendation. What I was looking for is a common denominator, consistent. And so the vice mayor was right. I did give a little bit more value to the individuals that reached out to me and sat down, because I got to know that person a little bit more. And so, I'm open to tips, but I can. I'm happy the way that it is now. I think that we've gone through enough appointments where it's pretty evident that for those that show initiative, that person's going to rise above all the other applicants.
Okay, so what do we do? What would you like to do?
Councilmember Nguyen, I like your suggestion. Maybe the tips, and I think that Jason has seen and consistently some of the things that we as a council as a whole like to see. I think that putting something along those lines will be sufficient for me, or doing nothing. I'll be fine with that too.
Well, then I don't know that, this is Councilmember Soon, I don't know that if it's tips, I think it's maybe a handout when the application goes out, Jason. If when as they pick up an application, they could, get the tips as long, in addition to the link to these, to these guidelines, and maybe that's what we do. And Mayor, you could also, state your expectations too. I mean, as an added redundant notification.
And Mr. Lindgren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when folks submit their application, you do let them know when the meeting takes place, where their application will be heard or will be looked at, and that you do let them know that they can come, but it's not a requirement. Am I correct?
You are correct. So when the application process comes through, typically we receive an application, confirm that it's been received. I let them know that I'll reach out to them the Friday prior to confirm scheduling. I give them the tentative schedule because we always have there's always the chance that we might have to bump an item to the future, sometimes with the appointment considerations. The Friday that the agenda publishes, I send them a link to the staff report that lists how many applicants there are. And in that, I have a statement that just says that there's open public comment opportunity for any applicant. They can address the council during the public comment segment of the item.
So maybe instead of saying it's not required, maybe you could say it's highly recommended. I don't know. I mean,
I'd have to go back and look at the wording that I've sent. I don't think I put anything about a requirement or highly recommended, but I think it is to the effect of that in the past, that's what applicants that have sought the seat have come and provided public comment. But I think from the comments that the council's been providing, just in regards to a way to approach the, I think what the word's being used is tips, but maybe it's just wording that we can use of, as an informational page. And as Councilmember Suen said, we have a fact sheet that talks about how the committee, what the composition of the committee is. It would be easy enough to reiterate something that's about expectations of candidates as part of that fact sheet. It could be just another fact sheet that's added to the application process itself. And then we could post the same or similar information on the city's website, maybe along the lines of what applicants are encouraged to do when they're seeking a position on a city commission or committee. And just kind of saying, the city would encourage these types of actions. It doesn't mean they're all inclusive or all requirements, but they are encouraged, and for applicants to reach out as early in the process as they can if we don't change any of the timelines. I think I might be able to work with the city attorney's office to put some language up for giving those kind of a broadcast of those encouragements for candidates when they are seeking office.
This is your city attorney. I'd be happy to help you with that, Mr. Clerk, if you like.
Yeah, Jason, that's pretty much what I was looking for.
Okay, excellent. Now we have a pathway. Members, are we good with that?
That's good with me.
All right, sounds good. Jason and Mr. Hobbs, thank you so much. And that being the case, we don't have any public comment on this, right? Did we go over that already?
We didn't have any public comment on this one. We did kind of close up that opportunity, but I haven't received any additional comments at this point.
All right, excellent. So I think that is it. So let's, since you have the direction, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 9:51 p.m.
Be well, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
All right, good night.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.